Welcome to Cello. At readcello.com, you create personalized novels based on your input. You can also find a library of ebooks and audiobooks just like this one. This free audiobook of The Echo of Forgotten Truths is brought to you by readcello.com. Enjoy the book. The Echo of Forgotten Truths has been written and narrated by the amazing team at readcello.com. Dedication. This book is dedicated to the curious learner. The curious learner reads to understand the world, people, history, science, philosophy, and everything in between. They are driven by a need for knowledge, always looking for books that will challenge their perspective, expand their understanding, or introduce them to new ideas. For them, the perfect book isn't just entertaining, it's eye-opening. Whether it's historical fiction that immerses them in a time period, sci-fi that explores ethical dilemmas, or a non-fiction deep dive into a subject they never knew they cared about, they crave stories that teach them something new. They don't just read to pass the time. They read to grow. The Echo of Forgotten Truths. Chapter 1, The Quiet Archive. Elena sat at a large wooden desk, surrounded by towering stacks of manuscripts and dusty tomes, fully immersed in cataloging a newly acquired manuscript. Her fingers glided over the aged pages, pausing occasionally to savor the moment, breathing in the musty scent of the library. A sliver of sunlight filtered through an ancient window, illuminating her workspace and reinforcing her connection to the past. The rhythmic scratching of her pen echoed softly in the quiet room, a comforting sound that lent her a sense of purpose. She scribbled notes with fervor, her mind racing with thoughts of the lost civilization she yearned to uncover. In this sacred space, every detail mattered, each word she wrote contributing to the growing tapestry of history she was determined to weave. With each passing minute, she felt the weight of knowledge pressing down on her, igniting her curiosity and inspiring her to dig deeper. Today was not just another day. It held the promise of discovery, and she was ready to dive into the unknown. As she wrote, a memory of her late father surfaced, reminding her of the family tradition of exploring history. The warmth of nostalgia embraced her as she pictured the countless hours spent in libraries, the two of them poring over books, unraveling stories of the past. A small smile crept across her face, tinged with bittersweet longing. She whispered, "I hope I make you proud," her voice barely escaping her lips. The feeling of connection to her father's legacy sparked a fire within her, an innate desire to uncover the truths that lay hidden in the pages before her. Yet as the memory faded, a shadow of self-doubt lingered at the edges of her mind. Could she truly carry on that legacy? The thrill of discovery was tempered by the weight of expectation, leaving her to grapple with the uncertainties nestled alongside her ambition. Yet she pushed the doubts aside, reminding herself that every great journey begins with a step into the unknown. Today, she would not let fear dictate her actions. As she continued her work, the door creaked open, and Mr. Barlow entered the room, carrying a stack of old newspapers. Elena looked up, momentarily distracted from her task, and a grin broke across her face at the sight of her mentor. "You're going to wear those pages thin if you're not careful," he teased, his voice warm and familiar. She chuckled, her spirits lifting at his presence. "Just trying to uncover the past before it disappears," she replied, her excitement bubbling over. Mr. Barlow approached her desk, leaning over to peek at the manuscript she had been diligently cataloging. "Ah, a rare find. This could hold some important insights into that civilization you're so fascinated with." His enthusiasm was infectious, igniting her motivation. The unknown merged with the possibility of discovery, and they engaged in an animated discussion, exchanging ideas about the significance of the text. In these moments, Elena felt not just a student, but also an eager explorer alongside a trusted guide. "Tell me, what have you found in this manuscript?" Mr. Barlow asked, his eyes twinkling with curiosity. Elena launched into an explanation about the significance of the civilization's trade routes, weaving in her insights from the historical context she had pieced together. "It's not just about the dates and events," she emphasized, her voice growing fervent. "It's about the stories, the people behind them that matter. This manuscript could reveal how their trade influenced the cultures around them." Mr. Barlow nodded thoughtfully. "You're right, of course. But remember, history is rarely straightforward. People often want to shape their narratives based on what's convenient. Elena paused to consider his point, feeling a mix of confidence and uncertainty. I suppose I have to be careful not to overlook differing perspectives. Exactly, he replied, a hint of admiration in his voice. Your passion is commendable, but the best historians balance their enthusiasm with critical thinking. Determined to embrace this advice, Elena nodded, aware that every discovery also brought layers of complexity. She felt a sense of responsibility to dig deeper, ensuring that the truths she uncovered were genuine reflections of the past. Elena's attention shifted momentarily as her gaze landed on a curious book across the room, its spine barely visible among the cluttered shelves. "What's that?" she asked, a spark of intrigue igniting within her. Mr. Barlow followed her glance, shrugging off the dusty old tome. "Oh, that? Just a collection of forgotten stories. You won't find anything of real value there." But Elena felt a magnetic pull toward it. "I don't know. It looks like it could hold something interesting." Ignoring Mr. Barlow's skepticism, she got up and approached the shelf, her heart quickening with each step. As she reached for the book, the dust stirred up, and she felt as if she were awakening long-dormant knowledge. The anticipation buzzed in the air as she pulled the book from the shelf, ready to uncover its secrets. Glancing back at Mr. Barlow, she smiled, determined to prove that even the overlooked could yield treasures untold. As Elena opened the book, a cloud of dust danced around her, and she coughed lightly, the musty smell of old paper enveloping her senses. The first few pages were filled with scratched handwriting and faded ink, but the further she read, the more her heart raced. Tales of forgotten legends and lost civilizations unfolded before her eyes, turning the pages into a treasure trove of possibilities. "See, this is fascinating," she exclaimed, glancing back at Mr. Barlow with bright eyes, eager to share her discovery. He approached, leaning over her shoulder to get a better look. "Well, he muttered, his tone shifting to one of genuine interest. Elena smiled, a wave of triumph washing over her as she realized the power of curiosity and the importance of every story waiting to be uncovered. Chapter 2, The Aspirant. Elena arrived at the seminar room, her heart pounding with anticipation as she stepped inside. The room buzzed with conversation, a blend of voices discussing the complex tapestry of history. She scanned the audience, noting familiar faces and new ones, feeling a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Setting her bag down at the front, she took a deep breath, reminding herself of her purpose here, to learn, engage, and expand her understanding of the world. As the speakers took their places at the podium, she couldn't help but feel a pull to connect with everyone around her, to dive deeper into discussions about the past and its lessons for the present. The lights dimmed, and the air grew electric with possibility, each presentation holding the potential to challenge her perspective and inspire her journey forward. The first speaker, an esteemed historian, stepped up to the microphone, adjusting his glasses as he surveyed the crowd. Elena leaned forward, eager to absorb every word. "History," he began, "is not just about dates and events. It's about context, understanding the why behind the what." She felt a spark of recognition at his words, recalling her father's teachings about the importance of perspective in understanding the past. The historian continued, outlining how historical narratives have been shaped, manipulated, and sometimes forgotten, causing Elena's mind to race with possibilities. She jotted down notes furiously, momentarily oblivious to the other attendees around her, lost in the thrill of learning. The fervor in his voice resonated with her as he challenged conventional views, urging the audience to dig deeper into the stories that history often leaves untold. As the speaker delved into the complexities of historical narratives, Elena shifted in her seat, her excitement tempered by a nagging sense of curiosity about her own research. She glanced around the room, noticing how some of her peers were engaged, while others were scrolling through their phones, distracted by the digital world outside. With a sudden determination, she raised her hand, interrupting briefly. "How do we ensure that emerging narratives aren't ignored in favor of traditional ones?" The room fell silent, and all eyes turned to her. The speaker smiled, appreciating the question. "That's the crux of it. The engagement of future historians like yourself is crucial to shaping the narratives that endure." Elena felt a rush of energy at the recognition, embodying a mix of pride and resolve as the dialogue continued, knowing she was part of the conversation, determined to contribute to history's unfolding story. The speaker nodded appreciatively, his eyes twinkling with enthusiasm. Exactly, and it begins with you questioning assumptions and daring to explore untold stories, he replied, his voice charged with passion. Elena leaned back in her chair, absorbing his words, feeling a deeper connection to the discussion and the weight of her role in the preservation of history. Around her, others were scribbling notes or murmuring their agreement, a palpable energy filling the room as the historian continued to address the importance of new perspectives. History is constantly evolving, and without your voices, it risks being reduced to a mere narrative of the past, he emphasized, encouraging the audience to carry that responsibility forward. Elena smiled to herself, realizing that her curiosity and commitment to uncovering the truth were just as vital as the knowledge being shared. The speaker continued, moving seamlessly through the history of various civilizations and the narratives that shaped their identities. Elena found herself lost in the stories, captivated by tales of triumph and defeat, innovation and stagnation. As he spoke of forgotten heroes and overlooked events, she felt a stirring in her heart, a desire to delve deeper into the stories that history left behind. Each of you has the power to alter how we view the past, he concluded, and ensure that the voices of history are never silenced. The audience erupted in applause, and a wave of excitement washed over Elena. She knew, in that moment, that her journey was about to transform into something greater, an unyielding quest to uncover and share the truth of the past with the world. As the applause subsided, Elena felt a sense of clarity and purpose solidifying within her. The speaker stepped down from the podium, warmly engaging with attendees, while Elena's mind raced with possibilities for her research back at the library. She caught up with Carla, her excitement bubbling over. "Did you hear that? We can't keep letting others dictate how we see history." Carla smiled, sharing in her enthusiasm. "I know. It feels like we've been given a call to action." Jonah, still processing, interjected, "But we need a solid plan moving forward. We can't just rush into this." Elena nodded, understanding his caution, but also feeling invigorated by the prospect of making an impact. "Let's take what we've learned today and dive deeper into our research." "We have a lot of stories to uncover," she replied, determination fueling her next steps. Chapter 3, A Hidden Discovery. As Elena and her friends settled back into their routine, an unusual noise echoed from the shadows of the library, pricking her curiosity. It was faint at first, a soft rustling that seemed out of place amidst the familiar silence of the manuscripts. Elena glanced around, caught between her instinct to investigate and the weight of the tasks ahead. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, her gaze darting toward the darkened corner of the room. Carla paused, her brow furrowing. "I didn't hear anything," she replied, sounding wary, yet intrigued by Elena's reaction. "Maybe it's just the wind," Jonah suggested, slightly dismissive, but Elena felt a tingle of intrigue that wouldn't let her dismiss it so easily. Shaking off her doubts, Elena took a step closer to the sound, her heart racing with a mix of apprehension and curiosity. She felt drawn to the shadows, peering into the dim corner where the noise had originated, squinting to discern any movement. "Maybe we should investigate," she suggested, her voice low, fueling her eagerness for discovery while battling the flutter of fear in her chest. Carla hesitated, glancing over her shoulder. "What if it's nothing?" "We don't want to waste time on dead ends." Elena turned to her, determination solidifying her resolve. "But what if it's something important? We can't ignore it just because we're busy. Knowledge is out there, waiting for us." As Jonah moved closer, he nodded slowly, catching Elena's excitement, his caution beginning to wane. Elena stepped cautiously into the shadowy corner, her pulse quickening as she strained to identify the source of the sound. The dim light cast eerie shapes on the walls, creating an atmosphere thick with anticipation. With each step, she became more aware of the weight of her surroundings. Danger mingled with the thrill of discovery. Suddenly, her foot brushed against something solid on the ground, prompting her to crouch down and investigate further. Reaching out, she felt the cool surface of an ornate chest, half hidden beneath a pile of dusty old cloths. Guys, come check this out, she called excitedly, the thrill of what she might uncover igniting her curiosity as her friends hurried to her side. With Jonah and Carla now at her side, Elena gently brushed off the layer of dust covering the chest, revealing intricate carvings that glinted in the faint light. Look at this detail, she marveled, tracing her fingers along the designs, a mix of excitement and reverence flooding her senses. What do you think is inside? Carla asked, her eyes wide with anticipation as she leaned closer, almost holding her breath. Elena hesitated for a moment, the chest's weightiness hinting at secrets that lay within. I don't know, but we won't find out unless we open it, she replied, determination surfacing in her voice. She glanced back at Jonah, who offered a cautious nod, urging her on as he glanced around the dim room, ensuring they remained undisturbed. Taking a deep breath, Elena lifted the heavy lid, anticipation mingling with the fear of what they might uncover, ready to face whatever truth awaited them inside. As the lid creaked open, a cloud of dust escaped, filling the air with a musty odor that hinted at the chest's long-abandoned secrets. Elena peered inside, her heart racing as she took in the sight of carefully wrapped scrolls and a collection of artifacts glimmering faintly in the dim light. Wow, this is incredible, she exclaimed, gently pulling out a delicate scroll adorned with faded illustrations, feeling the weight of history in her hands. Carla leaned over her shoulder, whispering in awe, "This could be what we've been searching for. Real evidence of the civilization's knowledge." Jonah, still on edge, glanced around nervously. "But this might be a trap. We need to be cautious," his voice laced with concern, reminding them of the stakes despite the excitement. But Elena, driven by purpose, replied, "We can't ignore this. It's too significant. Let's document everything and make sure we approach this wisely." With the chest fully opened, Elena delicately unwrapped one of the scrolls, revealing intricate maps and texts that spoke of ancient trade routes and lost knowledge. "This is remarkable," she breathed, her eyes alight with discovery as she scanned the beautifully penned words, each one holding the potential to reshape their understanding of history. Carla leaned in closer, pointing at a particular detail. "Look at this. It outlines their interaction with neighboring civilizations. It's exactly what we need to support our findings." Elena nodded, enthusiasm surging through her. She quickly retrieved her notebook, ready to jot down every detail that could prove vital for their mission. "Let's take high-quality photos of everything. We need to capture this before we risk leaving it behind," she instructed, her focus shifting to ensuring they documented their findings thoroughly. Jonah, starting to relax, joined in, pulling out his camera and assisting Elena in setting up the perfect angles to preserve the artifacts, the earlier tension beginning to dissolve amidst the excitement of their discovery. Chapter 4, The Threat Escalates. As Elena and her team prepared to delve into the artifacts they had uncovered, a real sense of urgency weighed heavily on their shoulders. They had made significant progress, yet the closer they got to unveiling the truth, the more danger lingered at the edges of their mission. "Are we sure we can trust these new contacts?" Jonah asked, poring over his notes and exchanging wary glances with Carla. "We have to take calculated risks," Elena responded, her brow furrowed as she considered their next steps. "Information is power," she added firmly, reiterating her long-held belief that exposing the truth was worth the dangers they might face. In that moment, a flicker of doubt crossed Jonah's face, but he nodded slowly, ready to follow Elena's lead as they moved forward into the unknown. As they gathered their materials, Elena laid out the plans on the table, carefully outlining the next steps for their mission. "We need to reach out to our contacts and coordinate a time to meet. The sooner we can get them involved, the better," she stated, her voice steady, reflecting her resolve. Carla stepped forward, her expression focused. "I can contact the historians we met last week and see if they can help amplify our message," she offered, enthusiasm bubbling in her tone. Jonah shifted uneasily, fiddling with a pencil on the table. "What if they aren't eager to get involved? This whole thing feels like a ticking time bomb," he countered, his concern palpable in the air. Elena glanced at him, understanding the weight of their predicament. "We have to be prepared for that possibility," she replied, her mind racing with thoughts of how they could adapt. "Let's think of it this way. If we can build a strong network and gather their testimonies, the organization will have a harder time silencing us, she added, confidence returning as they began to organize their next steps together. As they finalized their plans, the atmosphere in the room shifted, a blend of determination and apprehension filling the air. Elena noticed Jonah's lingering doubts, and she reached out to him. "You're worried about the risks involved, aren't you?" He met her gaze, his voice low. "What if reaching out makes us targets? We might be inviting more trouble than we can handle." Elena considered his words for a moment, understanding the fear behind his concerns. "I get it, but keeping quiet puts us at risk too. We have to weigh the consequences of inaction," she said, her resolve solidifying. Carla chimed in. "We can strategize about how to handle any fallout. If we stay on the offense, we can outmaneuver them." This reassurance seemed to uplift Jonah slightly, and Elena sensed the support of her friends surrounding her, emboldening her determination to push through the challenges ahead. With renewed determination, Elena leaned over the table, ready to structure their outreach plan more effectively. "Let's prioritize our contacts. We need to start with the historians who are already sympathetic to our cause," she suggested, her tone commanding yet collaborative. Carla nodded, her enthusiasm growing as she began jotting down names. "I can reach out to Martin. He has a lot of influence in the community and can help us gather more voices." Jonah added, "And I can check in with the journalist who reported on the vase's disappearance. They might be interested in a follow-up story, showcasing his willingness to contribute meaningfully." Elena felt a surge of hope as they outlined their next steps, the teamwork revitalizing her faith in their mission. "We've got to ensure everything is prepared before we start any outreach. Let's set a timeline for contacting each person," she insisted, demonstrating her maturity in planning and anticipating the necessary steps. The sense of focus in the room felt invigorating, and Elena realized that this unity and shared purpose were essential in navigating the potential tumult ahead. As they continued to strategize, Elena noticed a shift in Jonah's demeanor. He seemed more engaged, his earlier reservations fading. "Okay, I'm in," he said, determination replacing the doubt in his voice. "I'll handle the logistics of reaching out to the media, and I'll ensure all our information is ready to present." Elena smiled, grateful for his renewed commitment. "Thank you, Jonah. Having your support makes all the difference." Carla chimed in, and we can prepare a joint statement to clarify our intentions. Being transparent could help rally public support. Elena nodded, appreciating the collective energy building around her. This collaboration showcased the teamwork they had been nurturing, a far cry from the doubts they had faced earlier. "This time, we'll make sure everyone knows our mission. We won't let fear guide our actions any longer," she asserted, her voice steady as they prepared for the work ahead. The sense of camaraderie around the table reinforced Elena's conviction, and she felt a surge of confidence, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them in their quest for the truth. With their strategy in place, Elena felt a sense of urgency wash over her as they prepared to move forward. "Let's set a timeline for our outreach and make sure we're all aligned on our message," she stated, her voice tinged with excitement and determination. Carla glanced at her watch. "I can have the initial contacts made by tomorrow afternoon. That'll give us a head start on gathering more support." Jonah nodded, clearly reinvigorated by the plan. "And I'll start gathering all the evidence we have. If we're presenting a united front, we need everything organized and ready to go." Elena observed the enthusiasm in their eyes, a renewed sense of unity, making her feel more optimistic about their mission. "Great. Let's reconvene tomorrow evening to evaluate what we've gathered and discuss our approach," she declared, solidifying their commitment to action. As they left, Elena felt a renewed sense of purpose. Her experiences had transformed her into a leader ready to navigate whatever challenges awaited them. Chapter 5, Shadows of the Past. The following afternoon, the atmosphere in the library crackled with a sense of urgency as Elena, Carla, and Jonah meticulously reviewed their notes and evidence. Elena spread out the artifacts they had collected, each piece a testament to their weeks of work. "Okay, we're going to present these findings at the community forum tonight. We need to make sure our message is clear," she said, her voice steady and determined. Carla, rifling through the documents, added, "We should highlight the historical significance of the vase and how it ties into current events." Elena nodded, pleased with Carla's input, her confidence growing as the pieces of their strategy started to fall into place. "Let's ensure we practice our presentation. We need to be prepared for any questions that might come up," she insisted, feeling a mixture of excitement and pressure as the moment they had been preparing for drew near. As they practiced their presentation, Elena took the lead, pacing in front of her friends. "Remember, we need a strong opening to grab their attention," she instructed, her heart racing as she thought about the audience they would face. Carla listened intently, ready to jump in. "What if we start with a powerful statistic about the artifact's history? It sets the stage for its importance." "Exactly," Elena replied, appreciating Carla's strategic thinking as they refined their message. Jonah chimed in, "And what if we include anecdotes from witnesses? It'll personalize our findings and make the implications hit home." Elena smiled at the collaboration unfolding, feeling more like a team than ever. "Let's make sure we've got those stories ready to go. If we can connect emotionally, we'll engage them more effectively." As they practiced, Elena noticed a hesitation in Jonah's demeanor as he struggled to voice his points. "Is everything okay?" she asked, concern threading through her tone, sensing his discomfort. He took a deep breath. I don't want to stumble over my words in front of everyone. What if they don't take us seriously?" Elena stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You have valuable insights, Jonah. Just remember, we're here to present the truth, and that's powerful." Carla nodded in agreement. "You've done the research. Believe in what you've learned. We're a team, and we've got each other's backs." Jonah's expression softened as he absorbed their encouragement, and a flicker of determination ignited in his eyes. "All right, I'll focus on the facts. We can do this together." With the tone of camaraderie and shared purpose revived, Elena suggested they run through the presentation once more, focusing on key transitions. "Let's practice how we'll segue from the introduction into the evidence," she stated, her mind racing through their notes. The trio took their positions, and Elena began, her voice confident. "Today, we're here to uncover the truth about the artifact's significance and why it matters to you." Jonah followed, diving into details about the historical context, his initial hesitation replaced with controlled enthusiasm. As he spoke, Elena noticed how his words flowed more naturally, a testament to the supportive environment they had cultivated. Carla chimed in with her own points, reinforcing the connections between their findings and the implications for the community, their rhythm working harmoniously. By the time they reached the end of their run-through, Elena felt a surge of pride, realizing how their combined efforts and resilience had shaped their presentation into a cohesive, powerful message ready to resonate with the audience. As they wrapped up their final practice session, Elena felt a wave of relief wash over her. She gathered her notes, looking around at her friends, their expressions a mix of anticipation and determination. "Great job, everyone. I think we're ready for this," she said, her confidence strengthening with each word. Still feeling the weight of responsibility, she added, "Remember, the key is to stay focused on our message and engage with the audience." Jonah responded, "We need them to feel invested in this. It's not just data, it's history." Carla smiled. "Exactly. Our passion will shine through. They need to see how important this is." With the team unified in purpose, Elena felt a newfound sense of empowerment, ready to confront whatever challenges awaited them. With the sense of urgency palpable in the air, Elena glanced at the clock on the wall, noting that it was almost time for the presentation. "Let's make our way to the auditorium. We need to set up early," she said, her voice steady as she led the way. Jonah and Carla followed closely, their footsteps echoing down the corridor as they navigated the bustling campus. Elena's heart raced with anticipation, fueled by the knowledge that they were about to share their findings with a broader audience. Once inside the auditorium, she quickly began arranging the equipment, ensuring everything was in place. "Can you both handle the crowd when they start coming in?" she asked, glancing at her friends, their expressions ready and focused. "Absolutely," Carla replied with a grin, her confidence bolstered by their preparation. Feeling united in purpose, Elena took a deep breath, knowing that this moment could be the turning point in their mission. Chapter 6, Confrontation. The auditorium buzzed with energy as attendees began to filter in, filling the seats with eager faces. Elena stood backstage, taking deep breaths to steady her nerves, heart pounding with the gravity of their mission. "Are you ready?" Carla asked, glancing at her with a reassuring smile, clearly sensing the tension in her friend. "I will be," Elena replied, forcing a smile as she peered out into the crowd, the weight of their findings pressing heavily on her shoulders. The anticipation in the air only heightened her sense of urgency. They had a story to tell, and it could change everything. As Jonah checked the equipment one last time, Elena's mind raced with the possible questions and reactions they might face, reinforcing her readiness to stand firm. The lights dimmed, and a hushed silence fell over the audience as Elena and her team stepped onto the stage. Elena felt a rush of adrenaline as she stood at the podium, the weight of the moment settling around her like a thick fog. "Thank you all for coming today. We're here to share some important findings regarding the artifact and the historical truths it represents," she began, her voice steady despite the nerves fluttering inside her. As she glanced at her notes, she caught sight of Carla and Jonah standing confidently behind her, their supportive presence bolstering her resolve. The audience leaned forward, eyes fixed on the stage, creating an electric atmosphere filled with anticipation. With a deep breath, Elena knew that this was not just about sharing information. It was about challenging the narratives that had long gone unexamined. Elena's heart raced as she began detailing the historical significance of the artifact, her words flowing passionately. "Throughout history, objects like this vase have shaped cultural identities and influenced civilizations," she articulated, gesturing toward the artifact displayed prominently beside her. She glanced at the audience, watching their expressions shift from curiosity to intrigue as the weight of her message settled in. However, what many people don't realize is that history is often written by those in power, which can lead to neglecting vital perspectives. Elena paused for effect, letting her statement reverberate in the quiet room, hoping to provoke thought and discussion. As she continued, she felt empowered by the audience's engagement. Their eyes widened as she explained how their findings could change the narrative surrounding the artifact, igniting a desire for justice in the room. As Elena spoke, a hand shot up in the audience, a skeptical voice breaking through the room's stillness. "Who's to say your interpretation of history is any less biased than those you criticize?" the man challenged, crossing his arms defensively. Elena's pulse quickened at the sudden confrontation, but she held his gaze steadily, refusing to back down. "That's a fair question," she responded, her voice firm. "But our research is based on extensive documentation and testimonies from multiple perspectives. We're committed to unveiling the underrepresented stories that history often overlooks." Carla exchanged a glance with Jonah, both of them nodding slightly, further reinforcing Elena's stance in the face of opposition. Seeing the audience still engaged, Elena pressed on. "What we're asking for is not blind belief, but an openness to explore the complexities of our shared past." Elena's confidence surged as she saw some heads nodding in the audience, signaling engagement despite the earlier challenge. Encouraged by the positive reactions, she continued, "This vase represents not just an object of beauty, but a key to understanding the relationships and struggles of those who came before us." As she spoke, she caught sight of an elderly woman in the front row, her eyes glistening with emotion. "This history is more than academic. It can teach us about resilience and the importance of community," Elena emphasized, her voice rising with passion. With each word, she felt more inspired, conveying the urgency of their mission to uncover the truth and honor the voices of the past. The audience began to murmur among themselves, representing a shift towards solidarity, and Elena knew they were beginning to grasp the weight of what she was sharing. With the air thick with anticipation, Elena took a moment to gauge the audience's mood, feeling a palpable shift toward engagement and understanding. "Together, we can challenge the narratives that have long dominated our history," she declared, her voice steady and resolute. The man who had previously questioned her raised his hand again, this time his expression softer. So how can we assist in this journey? What can we do? Elena's heart swelled at the opportunity. Your voices matter, she responded, pointing towards the audience. If you share your stories and insights, together we can create a ripple effect that brings the truth to light. As she scanned the crowd, she saw nods of agreement and expressions of determination, fueling her confidence further. Feeling empowered by their collective energy, Elena concluded, "This isn't just about us. It's about ensuring that history reflects everyone's story, paving the way for a future built on understanding." Chapter 7, The Gathering Storm. Elena leaned against the weathered bookshelf, taking a moment to reflect on the whirlwind of events that had unfolded since their mission began. The sunlight filtering through the window cast a warm glow across her workspace, illuminating the scattered notes and artifacts that now represented their shared journey. She picked up the vase, turning it in her hands, the intricate designs reminding her of the past lives it had touched. "Everything we've done has led us to this point," she whispered to herself, caught in the gravity of their mission. The room was quiet, and for a moment she felt the weight of history settle around her, urging her to act with intention. With newfound determination, she straightened, ready to move forward, knowing that their efforts were just the beginning of a much larger story. Elena turned her attention to the others, seated around the table with a mix of anticipation and nervous energy. "Before we dive deeper into our findings, I want us to review our next steps," she announced, trying to channel her excitement into a focused discussion. Carla leaned forward, her brow furrowed in thought. "Are we still planning to contact the local historians for their insights? I think it could enrich our presentation." "Absolutely," Elena replied, appreciating Carla's initiative. "Let's leverage their experience to strengthen our claims. We need all angles covered." Jonah nodded in agreement, adding, "And if we can find any more evidence connecting the vase to the surrounding events, it'll pack a stronger punch." Elena took a deep breath, feeling the collaborative spirit among her team. "Right. Let's make a list of everything we need to gather and set deadlines to keep us on track." With that, they began brainstorming, the air filled with determination as they fueled each other's ideas, setting the stage for the challenges to come. Elena scribbled down notes as the conversation flowed, her pen racing to keep up with the ideas sparking through the group. "Let's not forget the timeline," she reminded them, glancing up. "We have to ensure we can present our findings well before the deadline. We need to be proactive about setting this stage." Carla raised her hand, seeking acknowledgement. "I can coordinate with the historians tomorrow. I'll make sure they understand the urgency," she offered, her expression showcasing determination. Jonah interjected, "And I can dig deeper into the artifact's background. There must be more evidence that connects it to this whole narrative." "Perfect," Elena replied, feeling the team rally around their shared purpose. As they discussed further details, she couldn't shake the sense of empowerment growing within her. Collaboration was becoming second nature, and their joint efforts felt more significant than ever. As they finalized their discussions, Elena felt a sense of pride wash over her. They had clearly defined their goals and responsibilities. "All right, let's meet back here tomorrow at the same time to touch base on our findings and progress," she declared, organizing the papers and artifacts on the table. Jonah looked thoughtful, his brow creasing again. "What if we face resistance? We can't predict how the organization will respond to our actions." Elena paused, considering his concerns. "That's why our preparation is so vital. We'll develop contingency plans based on what we find. We need to be ready for anything." Carla chimed in, "Yes, let's not forget that we've faced obstacles before. Each time we've learned how to adapt and come out stronger." Encouraged by their shared resolve, Elena nodded, her confidence restored. "Exactly. Together we can overcome any challenge." Elena glanced around the room, taking in the faces of her friends and allies, each reflecting a mix of determination and apprehension. "Let's also make sure to keep communication lines open," she emphasized, her eyes meeting each of theirs. "If anything unexpected happens, we need to know immediately." Jonah nodded, still wrestling with some inner tension but clearly trying to stay engaged. "I can set up a group chat for us. That way, we can update each other on our findings in real time." Great idea, Carla smiled, appreciating the initiative as a sense of camaraderie began to swell among them. Elena felt invigorated by their enthusiasm, aware that their collective resolve was growing stronger. Let's turn this effort into our strength, she encouraged, ready to embrace whatever challenges awaited as they embarked on their mission with renewed purpose. As they prepared to leave, Elena gathered her notes, glancing at each of her friends with a firm resolve. Today is just the first step. Remember the importance of what we're doing, she said, her voice steady as she felt the weight of their mission pressing down on her. Carla smiled, her confidence visibly growing as she replied, "We're ready for this, Elena. We've trained for it." Jonah took a deep breath, still feeling the stakes involved, but visibly more committed this time. "Let's make sure we stick to our plan and keep our heads clear," he added, his determination shining through. Encouraged by their responses, Elena felt a sense of unity forming among them, a bond strengthened through their shared challenges and aspirations. As they stepped out into the bright afternoon light, Elena led the way, heart racing but confident, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Chapter 8: Shadows of Betrayal. As Elena and her team approached the rally point, an unmistakable tension filled the air, palpable among the gathering crowd. Voices mingled, some hopeful, others skeptical, reflecting the mixed emotions surrounding the important event. Elena felt the weight of their mission pressing down as she scanned the faces of supporters, each one a reminder of the stakes at hand. "Remember, this is about sharing our truth," she said to Carla and Jonah, her voice steady as they absorbed the atmosphere. The crowd began to swell, murmurs growing louder, filling the air with anticipation. Elena's heart raced, knowing they were about to become the catalysts for change, a realization that both thrilled and terrified her. As they prepared to step into the center of the gathering, Elena could see the stage in the distance, adorned with banners that echoed their mission. "Are you ready?" she asked Jonah and Carla, her eyes searching theirs for reassurance as the crowd buzzed like a live wire. "Let's just stick to the script," Jonah replied, his voice trailing off as he adjusted his collar, clearly still feeling the pressure of the moment. Carla took Elena's hand briefly, giving it a reassuring squeeze. "Whatever happens, we've got each other's backs. Just remember, the truth is with us," she said confidently, grounding Elena in purpose. With a nod, Elena took a deep breath, straightening her posture as they moved through the throng, feeling their resolve solidify. Each step brought them closer to the stage, the energy of the crowd sparking her determination to make their voices heard. Elena stepped onto the stage, her heart pounding in rhythm with the gathered crowd's anticipation. The lights focused on her, creating a bright spotlight that warmed her skin but intensified the eyes that watched her every move. She positioned herself at the microphone, scanning the sea of faces before her, each one a potential ally in their quest for truth. "Thank you all for being here today. We stand on the brink of unveiling something significant, something that has been hidden for far too long," she began, her voice steady as she established her presence. A murmur of agreement rippled through the audience, fueling her confidence as she pressed on. "This isn't just about the past. It's about shaping our future together," she declared, feeling the energy shift as her words resonated with the audience. Elena's hands gripped the sides of the podium as she took a deep breath, letting the gravity of the moment wash over her. "With the discovery of this artifact, we've unearthed not only a piece of history, but a narrative that challenges the very foundation of what we believe," she emphasized, her voice rising with conviction. The shift in her tone caught the attention of the crowd, drawing them in closer, eyes wide with anticipation. She glanced at Carla and Jonah on the side, their expressions filled with support, reflecting the bond they had forged through their shared journey. "This story must be told, for those who have been silenced and those who still yearn for the truth," she continued, her passion igniting a fire within the listeners. Feelings of unity filled the space as Elena's words echoed, and she knew that together they could rewrite the narrative that had long been overlooked. Elena paused for a moment, letting the gravity of her words sink in, scanning the crowd for reactions. A man in the front row raised his hand, his face etched with skepticism. "But how do we know that your claims are true? What evidence do you have that isn't just conjecture? The question hung in the air, momentarily freezing the atmosphere around her. Elena met his gaze, her heart racing, but she steadied herself, recalling their collective research and the evidence they had gathered. Every statement we make is backed by documentation and testimonies from people who have lived through these events, she countered confidently. A ripple of murmurs spread through the audience as her assurance resonated, reinforcing the trust she had worked to build throughout their journey. Elena felt the tension in the room subside slightly as she continued. We've spent countless hours compiling data and speaking to those who experienced these events firsthand. She gestured toward the side of the stage, where a large projection screen displayed photos and documents as evidence of their findings. With your help, we can amplify these voices and ensure the truth about our past is not only acknowledged but celebrated, she implored, her voice rising with newfound fervor. Several audience members nodded, expressions shifting from doubt to intrigue, their engagement ignited by her compelling narrative. As she concluded, a sense of unity began to permeate the crowd, a realization that they were part of something larger than themselves. The palpable energy fueled Elena's determination, reinforcing her belief that together they could expose the truth and forge a path toward a more enlightened future. Chapter 9, The Labyrinth of Truth. After the presentation concluded, Elena stepped off the stage, adrenaline still coursing through her veins. The buzz of conversation surrounded her, a mix of excitement and skepticism as attendees discussed the implications of their findings. She watched as a few people approached Jonah and Carla, eager to ask questions and express support, a clear sign that their message had resonated. Elena felt a swell of pride as she noticed her friends being recognized for their contributions, realizing how their efforts had finally begun to bear fruit. Yet, the sense of accomplishment was tinged with anxiety. The road ahead was still uncertain, and she knew they would face backlash from the organization. Determined not to lose momentum, she gathered her thoughts, ready to regroup with her team and discuss their next steps in navigating the fallout of their revelations. Elena quickly gathered her notes, her mind racing as she sought out Carla and Jonah amidst the dispersing crowd. Spotting them at the edge of the auditorium, deep in conversation with a group of enthusiastic attendees, she felt a surge of relief. "Great job, everyone. That went better than I expected," she exclaimed, joining them, her voice infused with excitement. Carla turned to her, a bright smile illuminating her face. "The audience really connected with what we said. I think we might have sparked something," Jonah added, his earlier doubts fading. "People want to know more. This is just the beginning." Elena nodded, their enthusiasm bolstering her confidence as she reflected on the importance of their findings and the responsibility to see their mission through. As they talked, Elena caught sight of a group of local journalists approaching, their notepads ready, drawn by the buzz created during the presentation. "Can we get a few words?" one of them asked, directing the question at Elena as she stepped forward, feeling the spotlight shift back to her. "Absolutely," she replied, her confidence surging. "We'd love to share more about our findings and the implications for our community." The journalists leaned in, eager for details, and Elena felt the weight of their interest, aware that this moment could amplify their message further. "We need to ensure that the truth reaches as many people as possible," she emphasized, her voice steady, channeling her determination into every word. The journalists scribbled furiously, and for a moment, Elena envisioned waves of support flowing in, emboldening their cause and reigniting their fight for justice. As Elena spoke with the journalists, she noticed a shadow falling over the group, and her heart skipped a beat as a familiar figure emerged from the crowd. An old acquaintance from the organization. "Interesting presentation," he said with a smirk, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "But you should know, digging too deep can lead to unfortunate consequences." A tension crept into the air, and Elena felt her pulse quicken, her instincts warning her of the threat he posed. Restraining her instincts to retaliate, she replied, "We're committed to the truth. No matter the risks involved, we won't be silenced." The journalist shifted uneasily, sensing the conflict, and the man chuckled softly. "Brave words, but be careful who you trust. This isn't just a game. Elena met his gaze unwavering. Her growth as a leader emerged clearly in this confrontation, and she felt empowered to stand her ground. Elena felt the weight of his words pressing down on her, a reminder of the very real dangers they faced. But instead of fear, a surge of conviction rose within her. She turned to the journalists, her voice steady and confident. "We are not backing down. The truth is too important to ignore," she asserted, her determination ringing clear. The murmurs of the crowd shifted, more eyes now turning toward the unfolding confrontation. Jonah stepped forward, positioning himself beside Elena, his support evident. "We're here to protect the legacy of those who came before us, and we will fight for that right," he added, reinforcing their collective resolve. The man's smile faltered for a moment, uncertainty creeping in. The unified stance of Elena and her allies was enough to make him reconsider his approach. Feeling the support of her friends in the audience, Elena pushed forward, her commitment to their mission solidifying as she refused to let intimidation dictate their actions. The tension in the air was palpable as the crowd absorbed the unfolding confrontation, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. Elena stepped back slightly, allowing Jonah to take the lead, feeling a rush of pride in his newfound confidence as he addressed the audience. "This isn't just about us. It's about the truth that belongs to everyone," he emphasized, gesturing around the room, rallying the energy that had begun to build. Elena watched as nods of agreement cropped up throughout the audience, bolstering her resolve. The man from the organization narrowed his eyes, clearly recognizing that they were losing control of the narrative. "Consider your next move wisely," he warned, retreating into the crowd, his presence lingering like a shadow. But the momentum had shifted in Elena's favor. Chapter 10, The Fall. Elena stood in front of the chalkboard in the community center, maps and notes pinned up like a tapestry of their journey. Around her, members of the community buzzed with anticipation, their faces reflecting interest and concern as they awaited her presentation on the organization's concealment of history. "Thank you all for coming," she began, the weight of the moment pressing on her, yet a sense of purpose steadied her resolve. "This isn't just about our findings. It's about the stories that deserve to be heard," she continued, feeling the energy shift as she engaged the audience. With each word, she felt the collective hope in the room grow, reinforcing her belief in the importance of their mission. "Together, we can reclaim our history and ensure it's told without distortion," she declared, ready to inspire the community to take action alongside her. Elena gestured toward the maps, highlighting key areas where historical events had shaped their community. "This artifact isn't just an object. It represents a link to our past and the lessons we must learn," she explained, her passion evident as she connected their research to personal narratives. Hands raised as members of the audience began to ask questions, eager to engage. "How can we help make sure this story is told correctly?" one woman asked, her eyes wide with compassion and determination. Elena smiled at the question, grateful for the involvement. "By sharing your stories and experiences, you can lend authenticity to our findings. Your voice matters." The room buzzed with renewed energy, a collective resolve forming as they began to understand that they were part of something much larger than themselves. Elena noticed a man in the back of the room, his arms crossed and a skeptical look on his face. "What if what we find only brings more trouble?" he challenged, his voice cutting through the hopeful chatter. The weight of his question hung in the air, and Elena could feel a ripple of unease pass through the crowd. "This isn't just about uncovering the past. It's about confronting the truths we've ignored," she replied, keeping her tone steady despite the mounting pressure. True progress often comes with challenges, but it's worth it for the sake of our community's history. Carla, sensing the tension, chimed in. "We all have stories to tell, stories that deserve to be shared. We need to be courageous together." Elena met the skeptical man's gaze, determined to turn doubt into dialogue, showing her growth and commitment to leading the group through uncertainty. Elena took a step closer to the audience, her gaze sweeping across the room, searching for understanding. "Every single one of us has a stake in what's being discussed today," she emphasized, her voice rising with conviction. "If we don't acknowledge our history, we risk allowing others to shape it for us. The skeptical man shifted slightly, his expression softening as she continued, casting doubts aside. Let's work together to illuminate the truths that have been obscured. Your involvement can make a real difference, she urged, focusing on building a connection with the audience. The palpable tension began to lift, replaced by a sense of shared purpose, as nods of agreement spread through the crowd, indicating a newfound willingness to engage in the journey ahead. As the atmosphere began to shift, Elena turned toward the maps and artifacts displayed behind her, using them to reinforce her points. Every journey through history reveals patterns that need to be understood and discussed, she explained, pointing to a familiar landmark on the map. This artifact, for instance, is tied to our community's roots. It isn't just a relic, it's a living part of our identity. The crowd seemed to lean in, captivated by her passion and the personal connection she forged between the past and the present. Together, we can ensure that these stories are preserved, allowing future generations to learn from our experiences and mistakes, she continued, her conviction resonating in the room. By emphasizing their shared responsibility, she was able to reignite the spark of hope and collaboration, solidifying their commitment to the mission ahead. As Elena concluded, she could see the excitement and determination in the eyes of the audience, their energy palpable. Together, we can embark on a journey that honors our past and shapes our future, she declared, her voice rising with conviction. The crowd erupted in applause, enthusiasm echoing through the room as people began to stand, expressing their support for the cause. Elena felt a rush of gratitude as she caught sight of familiar faces among the crowd, the community rallying behind their shared mission. She exchanged an encouraging glance with Carla and Jonah, their expressions reflecting pride and unity in their cause. In that moment, Elena understood that they weren't just presenting information. They were igniting a movement. Each member of the audience becoming a part of the narrative they were determined to rewrite. Chapter 11, Echoes of the Past. Elena stood at the front of the community center the next day, the echoes of applause still ringing in her ears. As the meeting gathered momentum, she looked over the group assembled, a mix of familiar faces and new allies united by the mission they had sparked together. Today, we need to begin mapping out our next steps, she stated, her voice clear and focused. Let's discuss how we can use the momentum from the presentation to gather more support and ensure that our findings are heard. The room buzzed with energy as participants leaned forward, eager to contribute, their spirits buoyed by recent victories. Elena felt a deep sense of responsibility as she realized the impact of their united front. This was more than just about the artifact. It was about inspiring a community to seek truth and justice. As the discussions commenced, Elena encouraged each participant to voice their ideas, creating an open forum filled with passionate input. I think we should reach out to schools and educational institutions, suggested a local teacher, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. They can help spread the word to younger generations. Elena nodded, jotting down notes, appreciating how this suggestion would further engage the community and create lasting connections. Another attendee, a small business owner, chimed in. What if we partner with local businesses for sponsorship? They could help promote our cause while enhancing their community reputation. Great idea, Elena replied, her excitement growing as the collaborative spirit ignited. By encouraging everyone to contribute, she recognized the importance of leveraging diverse perspectives to drive their mission forward, reinforcing not only her leadership, but also the strength of their collective initiative. Elena felt a surge of pride as the brainstorming continued, the energy in the room palpable. However, when she noticed that some faces looked uncertain, she addressed the group directly. I know this journey can feel daunting. It's new for many of us, but together we can handle whatever comes our way. One participant, a former historian with deep connections, furrowed her brow. I appreciate the enthusiasm, but we must also prepare for backlash from those who wish to keep this information suppressed. They won't take kindly to our efforts. Elena nodded, acknowledging the concern with respect. You're right. We need to strategize around potential threats and ensure a solid foundation of support. With every challenge presented, Elena found her resolve strengthening, realizing how critical it was that they face these issues head-on. Let's create a contingency plan that anticipates the organization's response, ensuring we can protect our progress while still pushing forward, she asserted, highlighting her determination to lead with both courage and foresight. Elena felt the room's atmosphere tighten as she introduced the need for a strategic approach. Let's start by outlining potential risks and how we can address them, she proposed, pacing in front of the gathered community members. A murmur of agreement rippled through the group, and she paused, giving everyone a moment to reflect on the implications of their mission. We should identify key players in the organization who might oppose us and develop a plan to counter any objections they might raise, she added, her tone firm. Carla raised her hand, her expression serious. If we know their tactics, we can anticipate their moves. But we need to be ready for anything. An unexpected backlash could come at any time. Jonah nodded emphatically. And we can use our allies to buffer against their attacks. Building those relationships is crucial. Elena felt a wave of determination wash over her. Their unity and planning strengthened her resolve, showcasing how far they had come on this journey. As the meeting progressed, Elena could see a mix of determination and anxiety on the faces of her friends and allies. She stood at the front, feeling the weight of their expectations. It's important that we stick together through whatever challenges come our way. We cannot let fear dictate our actions. Some expressions brightened at her words, while others still bore the marks of doubt, a reminder that trust must be nurtured. What if it isn't just about us anymore? A soft voice from the back piped up, revealing a deeper fear among the group about the organization's potential response. Elena turned to see a younger historian absorbing the weight of the situation. You're right to be concerned. This isn't just a personal journey. It affects everyone in this community, she admitted, acknowledging the collective stakes involved. Determined to address the fears head-on, she added, but this unity gives us strength. Together, we will face the fallout, and we will persevere for the truth. With the tension in the room lingering, Elena decided to embody the strength of their collective resolve. Before we move forward, let's reaffirm our commitment to this cause, she urged, looking around the room, locking eyes with each of her friends and allies. I want everyone here to understand that your voices and stories matter, she continued, her voice steady. We are not just fighting for our own truth. We are advocating for the truths of those who have been silenced. The group's energy shifted, the previous doubt dissipating as a wave of determination washed over them. Carla spoke up. We're committed to making history heard, and will protect it fiercely. Elena smiled, rekindled by her friend's words, feeling the strength of their united front fueling her confidence. Let's get to work then, she declared, ready to face whatever lay ahead, knowing they were equipped with the collective strength to overcome the challenges in their path. Chapter 12, The Revelation. The sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the community center as Elena and her team gathered once more, surrounded by a sense of anticipation and urgency. Elena spread a large map across the table, marking key locations they would need to visit in the coming days. Tonight, we'll finalize our outreach plan and make sure we have everything ready for tomorrow's meeting, she said, her tone unwavering. The group nodded in agreement, a palpable sense of purpose radiating among them as they prepared for the next steps in their mission. Let's check in with our contacts and confirm the times, Jonah suggested, enthusiasm and diligence evident in his posture. Elena felt a surge of pride in their teamwork, recognizing how far they had come together since their earlier challenges. As they reviewed the plan, Elena moved to write down potential obstacles on the whiteboard, creating a visual representation of what lay ahead. Let's identify any risks we might face and how we can counter them, she remarked, her pencil gliding over the surface. Carla leaned in, pointing to the list. If we can anticipate their tactics, we can prepare our responses better. Elena nodded, appreciating the strategic thinking, and added, and we must ensure our allies are on the same page. Communication is key. Jonah chimed in. I can create a timeline for when we should reach out to everyone to make sure they're informed and engaged. Feeling the support of her team, Elena felt a renewed sense of clarity as they built a plan that was adaptive and thorough, ready to face any challenge that might come their way. As they continued to strategize, Elena noticed the tension in the room shift momentarily when a new message arrived on her phone. She glanced at the screen to see a notification from one of their allies. Word had spread about their findings, and now the organization was voicing its discontent publicly. "Everyone, we need to see this," she said, her voice cutting through the focus in the room as she shared the news. Tension hung heavy in the air, and Carla raised her eyebrows. "What does this mean for us? Are we at risk?" Elena felt the weight of her words pressing down on her, her instincts sharpening as she absorbed the implications. "We need to act quickly and thoughtfully to counter their narrative," she insisted, already planning their next steps in her mind. This moment served as a reminder of the stakes involved, fueling her determination to navigate the challenges ahead and keep her team united. Elena felt a surge of urgency as she addressed her team. "We can't let this intimidate us. We need to take control of the message." Carla nodded, leaning forward. "We should organize a community meeting to share our findings and counter their claims directly. The more people we involve, the stronger our position." Jonah, still absorbing the news, chimed in, "And we need to gather testimonials from those who support us. Their voices will matter." Elena felt the weight of leadership settle in her chest. "Let's put a timeline together. I can reach out to our allies and see who can attend," she replied, her mind racing with possibilities. As they discussed logistics, she noticed Carla's determined expression and Jonah's renewed focus, their commitment amplifying her confidence. "We're in this together," she concluded, the solidarity among them electrifying her resolve to push forward despite the uncertainty ahead. Elena glanced around the room, feeling the palpable energy as her team rallied around their shared mission. "Let's finalize our outreach strategy and ensure we're ready to present a united front," she said, her voice infused with determination. Carla started organizing the notes from their previous meetings, her movements efficient, reflecting her progressive attitude. "I'll draft the agenda for the community meeting and make sure we emphasize our key findings," she stated confidently. Jonah, now energized by their direction, gathered the evidence they had compiled, making mental notes on how to present it most effectively. "We need to highlight the personal stories that connect the community to the artifact," he suggested, aware of the emotional pull these narratives could have. Seeing their collaboration in action, Elena felt a surge of pride. They were no longer just a group working together. They were becoming a cohesive unit driven by purpose. "We'll not only share the facts, but also inspire others to take action," she added, solidifying their resolve as they prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. As the group finalized their plans, Elena felt a wave of determination wash over her. "Let's set a timeline for our outreach and make sure everyone is ready for tomorrow's meeting," she instructed, her eyes scanning their faces filled with anticipation. Carla quickly took out her notebook, jotting down key dates and reminders as Elena continued to outline their action steps. "Jonah, can you focus on coordinating with the allies we've reached out to? I think it's vital we have them on our side," she said, allocating roles efficiently. "Absolutely," Jonah replied, his enthusiasm evident as he began compiling a contact list. Feeling the momentum build, Elena smiled, knowing that their hard work and collaboration would pave the way for the success of their mission. With renewed energy, they were ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. Chapter 13, The Confrontation. Elena, Carla, and Jonah stood at the entrance to the organization's headquarters, the air thick with tension and uncertainty. They exchanged glances, each feeling the weight of the moment pressing down upon them. "This is it," Elena whispered, her voice steady as she took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. "We've come too far to turn back now," she added, her determination shining through. With a shared nod of resolve, they stepped forward, pushing through the heavy door that loomed before them. Inside, the atmosphere changed instantly, shadows cloaking the hallways as they moved deeper into the building, ready to face the challenges that awaited them. As they moved cautiously through the dimly lit corridors, Elena led the way, her heart pounding in her chest. "Stay alert. We can't afford to let our guard down, she whispered, glancing over her shoulder at Carla and Jonah, who followed closely behind. They approached a set of double doors at the end of the hallway, the faint sound of voices filtering through the cracks. Elena's mind raced, considering their options, calculating the risk of entering without knowing what lay on the other side. If we hear anything suspicious, we backtrack, understood? She said, instilling a sense of urgency and focus. Jonah nodded, his eyes scanning the surroundings, while Carla took a deep breath, readying herself for whatever they might encounter as they pressed on. Elena pressed her ear against the door, straining to catch snippets of the conversation within. She could make out a few phrases, references to their recent activities that sent a chill down her spine. The artifact must be secured before they expose us. We can't let them get ahead, a voice warned, filling her with urgency and apprehension. With a quick glance at her team, Elena felt the weight of their mission crystallize in that moment. Failure was not an option. Here's the plan, she whispered, taking a deep breath. We'll open the door and create a diversion. I want Carla to move left and Jonah to cover the rear. The tension thickened as they awaited her signal, adrenaline surging through her as she prepared to confront the unseen foe. With a nod of determination, Elena grasped the handle and pushed the door open, stepping into the room with confidence. Inside, a group of agents stood around a table cluttered with documents and plans, momentarily surprised by the unexpected intrusion. Freeze, one of the agents shouted, reaching for his communication device, but Elena was quicker. Look at what we've uncovered, she shouted, holding up the artifact, hoping to divert their attention and create an opportunity for her team. Carla dashed to the side, creating havoc by knocking over a stack of papers, while Jonah moved toward the back of the room to check for other exits. Elena's heart raced as she saw the agents scrambling to understand the situation, the moment shifting into chaos while she sought a path to turn the tide in their favor. Elena felt a surge of adrenaline as chaos erupted around her. The agents, caught off guard, exchanged frantic expressions, unsure of how to react. "Secure the artifact," one of them yelled, panic flooding his voice as they scrambled to regain control of the situation. With time slipping away, Elena lunged toward the table, her instincts guiding her to scoop up vital documents that could expose the organization's plans. "Carla, now!" she shouted, knowing they needed to act quickly to capitalize on the moment of confusion. Carla nodded, swiftly launching into action to shield Elena as she gathered evidence, both of them aware that every second counted in that tense environment. Elena's heart raced as she darted to the exit, documents clutched tightly in her hands, the sounds of chaos echoing behind her. "Jonah, we need to move now," she called out, urgency propelling her forward. He joined her, eyes wide with determination, as Carla provided cover, expertly redirecting the agent's attention with swift movements and shouts. Together, they navigated the maze of shelves toward the back door, the adrenaline heightening their senses as they pushed through and burst into the alley outside. Breathing heavily, Elena glanced back to ensure Carla was right behind them, feeling a rush of relief as she emerged safely from the chaos. "Did we get what we needed?" Jonah asked, and Elena nodded, feeling a mix of triumph and the weight of their ongoing struggle as they prepared to regroup and re-strategize. Chapter 14, The Great Reveal. Elena leaned against the cool brick wall of the alley, her breath coming in quick bursts as the adrenaline coursed through her veins. The sounds of the earlier chaos faded, leaving a heavy silence that felt both relieving and foreboding. "We did it," she said breathlessly, glancing at Jonah and Carla, who stood beside her, still catching their breath. Jonah wiped sweat from his brow, his expression a mix of exhilaration and disbelief. "But at what cost? They're going to come after us now." Carla shot him a look, determination in her eyes. "That's why we need to regroup and plan our next move. We can't let fear hold us back." Elena nodded, her heart steadier, aware that their earlier successes had equipped her to handle this next phase of their mission with resilience. Elena took a deep breath and stepped further into the alley, determined to refocus the group's energy. "Let's find a place to regroup and assess what we've gathered," she said, her voice steady, cutting through the uncertainty that lingered in the air. Carla nodded, quick to add, There's a cafe just around the corner. We can lay low and figure out our next steps. Jonah followed close behind, glancing back toward the headquarters, unease lingering in his posture. We should make it quick. They'll notice we're gone soon. Elena's mind raced as she mentally reviewed their findings, the weight of their discoveries growing more significant with each step. Right. Once we're there, we can plan for the community meeting and how to address any fallout from today, she replied, her earlier fear set aside as her leadership instincts took over. Once inside the cafe, the calming atmosphere contrasted sharply with the chaos they had just escaped. Elena chose a quiet table in the corner, her eyes scanning the room as she assessed their surroundings. Let's stay close to the entrance so we can keep an eye on anyone who might come looking for us, she suggested, a practical decision reflecting her growing instinct for safety. Carla pulled out the notes they had gathered, spreading them across the table. We need to compile our evidence and be prepared to defend it, she stated, her focus sharpening as she dove into the task. Jonah, still slightly on edge, tapped his fingers on the table nervously. What if they show up here? We need to be cautious. Elena met his gaze, asserting her confidence. We've come too far to let fear dictate our actions. Let's focus on our goals and prepare for what's next. As they settled in and took stock of their evidence, Elena felt a sense of urgency pressing on her. Let's organize our points, she said, her eyes flicking from one document to the next, assembling a narrative in her mind. Carla diligently grouped their findings into categories, outlining key arguments that would resonate with their audience. Here's what we need to emphasize. The connections between the artifact and the community's history, she pointed out, aligning sheets with precision. Jonah, still apprehensive, added, but we also need to prepare for counter-arguments. They won't take this lightly. Elena nodded, recognizing the importance of being ready for pushback. We'll anticipate their challenges and address them directly. This is our opportunity to lead. With their plans taking shape, Elena felt a sense of determination solidifying within her. All right, once we present our findings, we need to be ready to engage the audience fully, she said, looking at both Carla and Jonah, who were now fully invested in the preparations. She glanced at the clock on the wall, aware that time was running short. We have to ensure that our message resonates and that we're prepared for any difficult questions. Carla, organized and confident, added, we can practice our responses to potential objections. We need to sound knowledgeable and united. Jonah nodded in agreement, anxiety visibly dissipating as he focused on their preparations. I'll work on our opening statement to make sure it's as impactful as possible. Elena's heart swelled with pride. Their teamwork was stronger than ever, and she felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, empowered by their collective efforts. As they reviewed their notes one last time, Elena could feel the tension transform into excitement. We've got everything we need to move forward. Let's gather our thoughts and be ready to present with confidence, she urged, her voice filled with conviction. Carla smiled, her enthusiasm rekindled. This is going to be our moment to shine. I believe we can make a real difference. Jonah, now visibly more relaxed, chimed in, and if issues arise, we'll handle them together. We've prepared for this. Elena looked at her friends, feeling a rush of gratitude for their unwavering support and solidarity. Let's remind everyone why this matters, she encouraged, her determination reflecting in her eyes. With focused energy, they gathered their materials and stepped into the unknown, ready to take on the challenge ahead, feeling empowered by the knowledge and unity they had built. Chapter 15, The Aftermath. Elena stood at the front of the community center once again, the atmosphere electric with anticipation as the audience filled the seats. Today would be different. They were prepared to share their findings in a manner that would captivate and inspire. Taking a deep breath, she glanced over at Carla and Jonah, who exchanged nods of encouragement, their faith in her bolstering her confidence. As the lights dimmed and she stepped to the microphone, she felt the familiar rush of adrenaline course through her, focusing her thoughts. Thank you all for joining us today, she began, projecting her voice with authority, eager to connect with the crowd. I'm excited to share the knowledge we've gathered and the stories that need to be heard. Elena began detailing the background of the artifact, her words flowing with passion as she painted vivid pictures of its historical significance. Throughout its history, this vase has witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, capturing the complexities of human experience, she stated, gauging the crowd's reactions as they leaned in, intrigued. She gestured to a large projection screen behind her, where images of the vase and its context flickered, connecting the audience to the past. This is not just an artifact. It's a key to understanding the relationships and struggles that shaped our current society, she continued, emphasizing the importance of uncovering these narratives. The audience murmured among themselves, a visible excitement building as Elena's enthusiasm resonated deeply. With each word, she could feel their interest ignite, fueling her resolve to drive her message home and ensure the truth was heard. As she continued to speak, a hand shot up from the audience, a young man with an inquisitive expression. "Can you explain how this vase is connected to the current issues we face in our community?" he asked, his curiosity evident. Elena welcomed the question, recognizing an opportunity to engage deeper. "Absolutely. The artifact symbolizes the overlooked voices in our history, much like the voices that are often neglected today." The crowd listened intently, nodding as she drew parallels between the past and the present, reinforcing the need to learn from historical narratives to shape a better future. Another attendee, a local activist, leaned forward and added, "It's about reclaiming our history and ensuring those stories don't disappear again." Elena smiled, appreciating the growing connection within the audience. Their collective understanding was expanding. "Exactly," she replied, energized by their engagement, and that's why our mission is so crucial. Together, we can ensure that every story is heard. Elena felt the excitement in the room grow as more hands shot up, eager to engage in the conversation. She scanned the room, encouraging participation, when a woman stood up, her voice trembling slightly. "What if the organization retaliates against our efforts? Isn't that a risk?" Elena recognized the fear underlying the question. A sentiment echoed in some of the faces around her. "We cannot allow fear to paralyze us," she responded, maintaining eye contact to instill confidence. "Historically, silence has often guarded injustice. If we stand together, we are stronger." Jonah, feeling emboldened by Elena's words, added, "We've already faced danger and come out on top. This community is behind us, ready to support whatever happens." The crowd murmured in agreement, and Elena felt a swell of pride. Her leadership was being tested, yet her conviction united them further. "Let's focus on the future we want to create," she urged, her confidence glowing as she motivated them to channel their fear into action. Feeling the energy of the room shift, Elena continued to guide the conversation, determined to keep momentum on their side. "Now, more than ever, we must come together to ensure our voices are heard," she said, her tone both passionate and resolute. Carla, inspired by the dialogue, jumped in with excitement. "Let's organize a public forum where anyone can come share their stories. We can show the impact of history on their lives." The idea sparked enthusiasm, causing murmurs of approval to ripple across the gathered crowd. Elena's heart soared as she realized this was what she wanted, the community taking ownership of their narrative. "Absolutely, we can reach out to local businesses for support and help spread the word," she agreed, her mind racing with possibilities of how they could mobilize. This proactive shift illustrated the power of their alliance and reaffirmed Elena's growth as a leader, ready to face the challenges ahead with renewed strength. As the excitement built around the idea of the public forum, Elena took a moment to absorb the energy radiating from the group. "Let's not lose sight of our main objective," she reminded them, her voice steady and focused. "We need to ensure we gather our findings in a way that resonates with everyone." She noticed the determined expressions on her friends' faces. Carla was already jotting down notes for logistics, while Jonah started drafting an outline for the presentation. "First, we need to identify the key stories, the ones that truly represent our community's voice," Elena continued, encouraging everyone to contribute their thoughts and connections. "Let's ensure every speaker highlights the significance of the artifact and ties it back to our local history," Jonah suggested, his earlier reservations now replaced with enthusiasm. With the team actively engaged, Elena felt a surge of confidence. Their collective effort was not just about presenting information, it was about creating a movement that would compel the community to embrace their heritage and push back against suppression. Chapter 16, A New Beginning. Elena stood in the quiet of the library, her heart heavy as she looked over the documents they had gathered. The excitement of the previous days felt distant, replaced by a creeping sense of foreboding. Despite their efforts to rally support, whispers of dissent had begun circulating through the community, undermining their mission. "How could this happen?" she murmured, frustration bubbling beneath her surface as she flipped through the pages, searching for a solution. The door creaked open, and Jonah entered, his expression somber. "I've heard more rumors about the organization's reach. People are scared to stand with us." Elena felt a pang of disappointment. Their dreams of uncovering the truth were beginning to feel like a monumental challenge, hidden behind the shadows of fear. Elena looked at Jonah, frustration mingled with concern. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice tinged with urgency as the weight of the situation pressed down on them. Jonah shrugged, his shoulders slumping slightly. "We need to rethink our strategy. Maybe we should lay low for a bit until the heat dies down. But if we retreat now, we risk losing everything we've fought for," Elena replied, her determination flaring. "We need to find a way to counter this fear," she continued, pacing the floor as ideas churned in her mind. "Perhaps we can reach out to those who still support us, reinforce our connections," Jonah suggested, a hint of hope sparking. Elena nodded, drawn to the idea, realizing that reinforcing their alliances might be their best chance to navigate the uncertainty ahead. Elena felt a spark of resolve ignite within her as she paced, energized by the potential of Jonah's idea. "Let's compile a list of everyone who was supportive at the forum. We can reach out and remind them what's at stake," she declared, her voice gaining strength. Jonah pulled out his notebook, jotting down names as they spoke. "We should set up a meeting, a gathering to reaffirm our goals and renew our commitment to the cause." Elena nodded vigorously, appreciating the direction they were taking. "Exactly. If we can remind them that we're all in this together, we might reignite their passion." As they strategized, Carla entered the room, sensing the tension, but also the energy of their renewed focus. "What's going on? You both look like you're ready to take on the world," she remarked with a hint of curiosity. Elena turned. "We're planning our next move. We need to quickly re-establish connections and gather support to combat the fear spreading through the community." Elena looked at Carla, grateful for her energy as she outlined their plan. "We can start by reaching out to those who attended the forum, especially those who expressed support. It's time to remind them that their input is vital," she said, her excitement bubbling to the surface. Carla nodded, her eyes brightening. "I can draft up some messages and send them out tonight. We can schedule a follow-up meeting to keep the momentum going." Jonah added, "And I'll handle contacting the historians who previously offered help. We can really use their expertise right now." The dynamic in the room shifted as enthusiasm built, Elena feeling the peer support tightening their resolve as they worked together. "Let's make sure to prepare for possible skepticism. Reminding everyone of the importance of our work will help alleviate fears," Elena suggested, reinforcing the need for a united front. As they planned, Elena felt emboldened. Her earlier doubts had receded, replaced by a strong commitment to the mission ahead. The team dedicated the next hour to organizing their outreach strategy, voices rising and falling as ideas flowed rapidly. Elena moved from one section of the room to another, ensuring everyone was aligned on their tasks, her presence a guiding force. "Remember, we need to be consistent in our message," she reminded them. "This is about truth and community, not just the artifact." Jonah sorted through documents, occasionally glancing up to confirm their approach. While Carla crafted compelling messages for their contacts, her enthusiasm infectious. Elena felt invigorated as she watched her friends work together, their confidence manifesting as they developed materials to bolster their cause. With each passing moment, she felt her leadership solidify, realizing that their collective resilience was now greater than any fear they faced. As the afternoon wore on, Elena gathered the team to finalize their strategy, an air of anticipation surrounding them. Once we're ready to reach out, we need to ensure everyone understands the significance of this information, she stated, her tone resolute, capturing their focus. Carla raised her hand, a thoughtful look on her face. What if we add personal stories from the community in our outreach? It might make our message more relatable. Elena smiled, appreciating Carla's insight. That's an excellent idea. Personal connections will help humanize the narrative and build trust. Jonah chimed in, and if we can get some allies to share their experiences, it will strengthen our position even more. Feeling the collective energy in the room, Elena looked around at her friends and allies, realizing how far they had come together. Let's make this happen, she encouraged, her heart swelling with pride in their journey, knowing that their combined efforts could lead to real change. Chapter 17, Shadows Still Linger. Elena paced back and forth in the makeshift meeting room, the weight of their upcoming presentation hanging heavily in the air. Her team gathered around the table, each member absorbed in their thoughts, a blend of excitement and anxiety pulsing through the group. Okay, we're down to the wire, she said, her voice cutting through the tension. We need to finalize every detail and make sure we're aligned on our message. Carla glanced up, her eyes bright with determination. I'll handle the final edits on the presentation materials. You can count on me. Jonah, still looking slightly anxious, added, I'll double-check our tech setup. We can't afford any mishaps. Elena nodded appreciatively, feeling the momentum of teamwork fueling her confidence as they rallied together for one last push. As they continued their preparations, the atmosphere shifted. Elena sensed an undercurrent of tension among her team members, particularly with Jonah. He kept glancing at his watch, anxiety etching lines across his forehead. What if we're not ready? What if they don't take us seriously? He voiced, fear slipping through despite their rigorous planning. Elena stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Remember, we're not just relying on our findings. We're appealing to our community's values and experiences, she reminded him, her confidence steadying his nerves. Carla, overhearing their exchange, chimed in. Your insights will strengthen our case, Jonah. We've prepared for this, and we have the support of everyone in the audience. Elena nodded, feeling the sense of camaraderie building. Let's trust our preparation and the message we've crafted together. We're ready. Jonah inhaled deeply, the group's optimism fueling his determination as he nodded in agreement, ready to face the challenge ahead. As the time for their presentation drew closer, Elena rallied her team to run through their final plan one last time. Let's stand at the front and make sure our key points are clear, she instructed, her voice steady, a commanding force anchoring their energy. Jonah shuffled the notes, ensuring everything was in order. I'll open with a brief overview, then transition to the evidence we've gathered, he confirmed, now visibly more confident. Carla arranged the visual aids they would use for the presentation, double-checking that everything was prepared. We need to emphasize our community's involvement in this. Make it personal, she suggested, eager to strengthen their argument. Elena nodded, pleased with the new direction they were taking. Absolutely. We want the audience to feel connected to our findings. With each coordinated movement, she could see their growing commitment manifesting into a cohesive plan, solidifying her belief that they could truly make a difference together. With their final run-through complete, Elena gathered the team around, her heart racing in anticipation of what lay ahead. Remember, this isn't just about presenting facts, it's about connecting those facts to the lives of the people in our community, she emphasized, her determination evident as she looked each of them in the eye. Carla, feeling inspired, added, We need to make sure our passion shows through. People will respond to that. Jonah nodded, a smile forming on his face. Right. Let's take that energy into our presentation. We're all in this together. The solidarity among them filled Elena with confidence, reinforcing her belief in their mission and the importance of their work. Let's do this for everyone who believes in our cause. Together, we can make a difference, she concluded, a sense of purpose fueling her as they prepared to step into the spotlight. As the front doors of the auditorium opened, Elena felt a rush of energy surge through her, the anticipation from the crowd washing over her like a tide. She exchanged nervous glances with Carla and Jonah, feeling their shared excitement mingled with the weight of their mission. "Just remember, we're not alone. We have the support of the community," she reminded them, her resolve strengthening as they stepped onto the stage. Once in front of the microphone, she surveyed the audience and took a deep breath, embracing the moment before launching into their carefully crafted presentation. "Thank you all for coming today. We are here to share not just an artifact, but the stories and truths that shape our history," she began, her voice steady and confident. With each word that followed, Elena felt herself transform into the leader she had been training to be, ready to confront any challenges that awaited them. Elena began her presentation with a survey of the audience's faces, each one reflecting curiosity and anticipation. "Today, we're unveiling the true story behind the artifact and its significance to our community," she stated, her voice clear and authoritative. As she transitioned into the detailed findings, she noticed heads nodding in agreement, the weight of the narrative drawing them into her words. The energy in the room shifted. The collective attention heightened as she revealed not only facts, but the emotional resonance of their mission. Through this journey, we've uncovered not just items from the past, but the heart and soul of our community, she emphasized, her passion evident. With each compelling revelation, Elena could feel the audience connecting with the significance of their work, reinforcing her belief in the impact they could make together. Chapter 18, Facing the Threat. Elena stood in front of the gathered community, the weight of their expectations pressing down on her shoulders like a heavy cloak. The presentation was over, and she felt a mix of relief and exhilaration course through her. "Thank you all for being here and for your support," she said, her voice ringing with sincerity as she scanned the sea of faces that had come to hear their message. Now, she needed to decide on the next course of action, to carry the momentum forward and reinforce the importance of their mission. They had shared their discoveries, ignited discussions, but the real challenge lay ahead, ensuring the truth wasn't silenced and that the community came together. With renewed purpose, Elena's mind raced through the possibilities, ready to take action and confront whatever obstacles awaited them. As the applause faded, Elena felt a sense of urgency to act upon the support they had garnered. "Let's not lose momentum. We need to create a plan to unify everyone behind our cause," she addressed the group passionately. Around her, participants murmured in agreement, clearly energized by their shared commitment to revealing the truth. Elena pulled out a whiteboard, quickly sketching out potential action steps while rousing their collective creativity. "First, we organize follow-up meetings with the historians and the local community. We can't let apathy keep us from moving forward," she insisted, her determination clear. This strategic mindset reflected her growth. She felt a responsibility to channel the energy from the audience into concrete actions that would reinforce their mission. As Elena detailed the next steps, she caught the eye of an elder historian in the front row who raised a hand, clearly needing to voice his concerns. "While this is admirable, I worry about the repercussions of your plans. The organization is not to be underestimated," he cautioned, his voice steady yet grave. Elena felt a tension ripple through the room. The reality of their fight suddenly felt heavier. "We understand the risks," she replied, meeting his gaze with genuine determination. "But if we don't take this step, we allow them to continue shaping narratives that serve their interests." Another participant nodded in agreement, bolstered by Elena's response, insisting, "We're prepared to stand with you. We need to reclaim our voices." Elena felt the surge of support reinvigorate her resolve as she realized that together they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. Elena felt a surge of confidence as the support from the audience solidified her resolve. "Let's make sure we inform everyone involved about the plan," she suggested, her voice ringing with determination. "We'll set a timeline for contacting our allies, making sure they're aware of our movements and ready to support us," she outlined, transforming hesitation into a structured approach. Carla quickly chimed in. "I can draft an email to the local historians and stakeholders, emphasizing their role in our next steps." "Excellent idea," Jonah added, feeling inspired by the collective effort. and I can prepare a presentation that highlights the importance of our unified front, including everyone's contributions. Elena observed how each member of the team stepped up, the tension beginning to ease as they embraced their shared purpose, signaling a growing trust and camaraderie. As the meeting drew to a close, Elena sensed a shift in the energy within the room, a collective commitment solidifying among her allies. "Let's remember why we're doing this," she said, looking around at the faces filled with renewed determination. "Our goal is to reclaim the narrative, to bring these hidden stories to light." The audience nodded, their expressions reflecting understanding and resolve, creating an atmosphere ripe with enthusiasm for their shared mission. Jonah added, "And if we stand united, we can overcome any backlash from the organization." Elena felt the weight of their camaraderie, realizing that their strength lay in their unity. With a final nod, she declared, "Together, we are stronger, and together, we will fight for our history." The collective conviction in the room reaffirmed her journey's significance and the impact of their commitment to the truth. With their resolve set, the team began to disperse, each member energized by the collective purpose they had forged. Elena felt the adrenaline still coursing through her as she stepped outside, the crisp evening air wrapping around her like a shield. As they gathered their materials and prepared to part ways, she turned to Carla and Jonah, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you both for believing in this," she said earnestly. "This community needs our voice, and we're making a difference." Carla smiled, her enthusiasm infectious. "We're all in this together, and I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else." Jonah, looking noticeably more confident, nodded in agreement. "Let's keep pushing forward. I know we can make an impact." Elena's determination solidified within her, feeling ready to face whatever challenges still lay ahead, knowing they had each other to rely on. Chapter 19, A World Transformed. Elena and her team approached the rally point for their planned public demonstration, a mix of excitement and anxiety thrumming in the air. The streets were lively, filled with community members curious about the changes they hoped to ignite. "All right, everyone, this is our moment," she said, rallying her companions as they gathered their materials. They positioned signs and banners that conveyed their message, showcasing the importance of transparency in history and the need to confront the organization's actions. Elena glanced around the square, taking in the faces of familiar supporters and new allies, feeling the weight of their expectations settle upon her shoulders. "We've prepared for this. Let's make our voices heard," she called, her determination igniting a spark within the crowd. As the crowd began to gather, Elena felt a swell of anticipation mixed with apprehension coursing through her. The air buzzed with chatter, conversations weaving around snippets of their earlier victories and the hope for greater change. Elena took a deep breath, her heart racing as she scanned the scene, seeking familiar faces among the growing crowd of supporters. "Remember, our goal is to inform and inspire," she reminded her team, noticing the mix of determination and uncertainty in their expressions. With her heart pounding, she stepped forward and raised her hand to signal for attention, her voice ringing out above the noise. "Thank you all for being here. Today is about our collective voice. Let's show everyone what we stand for." As Elena's voice echoed through the square, the crowd gradually fell silent, their faces turning toward her with a mix of curiosity and anticipation. "Today, we gather not just to talk about history, but to reclaim it," she said, feeling a surge of energy from the crowd's attention. With each word, she painted a picture of the artifact's significance, weaving in threads of community history that resonated deeply with their collective identity. A ripple of agreement coursed through the audience, and Elena caught sight of familiar supporters nodding, their expressions filled with hope and determination. "Your stories matter. They are vital to understanding who we are and where we are going," she emphasized, invigorating the crowd with her passion. Encouraged, she took a step closer, her confidence growing as she realized the impact her message was beginning to have on those gathered before her. Elena paused, scanning the sea of faces, her heart racing as she anticipated their reactions. "Together, we can challenge the narratives that have long gone unchecked," she continued, her voice steady, conviction fueling her words. A man at the front raised his hand, a frown creasing his brow. But what if we face backlash? What if they retaliate? His question pierced the air, momentarily breaking the energy in the crowd, a reminder of the risks they were taking. Elena felt a flicker of doubt but quickly quelled it, preparing to address his concern head-on. Facing opposition is a part of every struggle for truth. We must be ready to stand firm in our convictions. Jonah stepped closer, offering his support. We've prepared, and we have a community backing us. We won't be silenced. Elena nodded, feeling the strength of their resolve above the whispers of apprehension. Feeling the shift in the crowd's energy, Elena pressed on, her heart pounding with a mix of resolve and anticipation. We need to take a stand today, not just for ourselves, but for all those whose voices have been silenced. The truth must prevail, she declared, her voice ringing clear and unwavering. The audience responded with murmurs, shifting in their seats, a growing sense of determination igniting among them. Elena could see the spark of courage in some of their eyes, a reflection of her own renewed sense of purpose. Let's turn this moment into action. We'll document our findings and urge others to join us, she continued, her excitement palpable as she painted a vision of collective impact and empowerment. Encouraged by their engagement, she felt a surge of confidence, knowing that together they could embrace the challenges and shape their shared future. As Elena concluded her call to action, the crowd erupted in applause, the sounds swelling like waves crashing against the shore. Let's organize our efforts, she said, raising her hands for attention, her heart racing at the sight of so many passionate faces before her. Each of you plays a vital role in this mission. We need to share our findings, gather stories, and unite our voices, she urged, her conviction evident in her tone. Some members of the audience began to step forward, eager to volunteer and contribute their insights to the cause. Elena felt a rush of gratitude as people expressed their willingness to help, a testament to the trust she had built within the community. Together, we will ensure that the truths of our past are preserved and celebrated, she declared, the energy in the room igniting a sense of hope and purpose that they would carry forward. Chapter 20. Reflections of the Past. Elena sat at a table scattered with notes and maps, the morning sunlight streaming through the window, illuminating the day ahead. With the community meeting fresh in her mind, she reflected on the strategies they had discussed, contemplating how to solidify the momentum they had created. All right, let's take stock of what we've accomplished and what still needs our attention, she said, calling her team together for a focused discussion. Carla adjusted her chair, pulling her notebook closer. We've reached out to several historians, but we still need more local stories to make our presentation compelling. Jonah tapped his fingers against the table, deep in thought. And if we can get that journalist on board, it could really amplify our reach. Elena felt a sense of purpose as they reviewed their tasks, energized by the commitment of her friends as they moved forward with their mission. As they gathered around the table, Elena reviewed the notes, noting key points they needed to address. First, we should focus on pooling all our findings into a cohesive narrative, she said, her pencil moving quickly across the paper. Carla nodded, her fingers flying as she took notes. I can organize the local testimonies. Those will add depth to our claims. Great, Jonah added, his expression serious, and I'll reach out to the journalist. If we can get a piece published before the meeting, it will help draw more attention. Elena felt a mix of gratitude and excitement as her friends engaged with enthusiasm, each contributing to their mission. Together, we can reinforce our message and ensure that our community understands the importance of these truths, she urged, feeling the collaborative spirit strengthen among them. With their tasks set, they all felt ready to tackle the next phase of their quest, committed to making a meaningful impact. As they finalized their plans, a sense of urgency filled the room. The date for their community presentation loomed closer. Let's not forget to rehearse our parts together. It'll help us sound united, Elena reminded her team, eager to instill confidence in their collective efforts. Carla glanced at the notes spread out before them, her brow furrowed in concentration. Right, and we need to ensure that everyone has their personal stories ready to tie back to our findings. Jonah raised a finger, a hint of concern in his expression. What if someone questions our motives? We need to make sure we're prepared for any challenges. Elena took a moment to absorb his words, understanding the importance of being ready for scrutiny. We can anticipate those questions. Let's build our responses into the presentation, she suggested decisively, confident in her ability to navigate any potential conflict. The teamwork felt invigorating, and as they connected their ideas, Elena knew they were not just preparing to share information, but were training to face the future together. Elena looked around the table, observing her team members as they prepared for their presentation, a rush of pride filling her. Let's make sure to remind everyone why we're taking this step, she prompted, wanting to solidify their purpose in the minds of their audience. Carla nodded, her enthusiasm rekindled. We need to emphasize that this isn't just about the artifact. It's about our community, our history. It's personal. Jonah adjusted his notebook, his earlier concerns now replaced with a sense of urgency. And if we highlight the community's strength, it will resonate more with everyone attending. Elena felt the weight of their mission shift, excitement building as they crafted their message together. We're fighting for our shared narrative, and every voice matters, she declared, channeling their collective energy as she prepared for the challenges ahead. This collaboration reinforced her belief in their mission, solidifying her role as a leader ready to navigate whatever obstacles stood in their way. As their planning intensified, Elena's focus sharpened, the urgency of their mission reigniting her determination. Let's divide our responsibilities clearly. We need to be organized for what might come, she suggested, pulling out a large whiteboard to map out tasks. Carla leaned in, eager. I'll handle establishing contact with the community leaders to line up support. Jonah, holding his pen ready, replied, and I'll compile the evidence we've gathered, ensuring it's ready to be shared when the time comes. We need everything at our fingertips. Elena felt the synergy among them, each person drawing strength from one another as roles and responsibilities were clearly assigned. Great, and let's make sure to check in regularly. If anything changes, we need to be flexible, she urged, showcasing her ability to adapt to the ever-shifting landscape of their mission. Feeling the momentum build around them, Elena knew they were on the brink of something significant, their collective efforts prepared to carve a path forward. With everything organized and tasks delegated, Elena felt a sense of camaraderie envelop the room. Remember, we're not just presenting information, we're sharing a vision for the future, she reminded her team, her voice ringing with conviction. Carla looked around, her confidence bubbling up. If we can rally enough support, we can truly shift the narrative, she said, inspiring the others with her enthusiasm. Jonah grabbed a few handouts, arranging them neatly as he added, and making the evidence accessible will be key. We want to engage everyone. Elena nodded, grateful for their input, feeling the collaborative spirit reinforce their mission. As they prepared to leave for the meeting, she felt empowered, knowing that they were equipped not only with knowledge, but with a profound commitment to each other and their cause. Chapter 21, The Journey Continues. Elena stood at the edge of the gathering crowd, feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety swirl within her as the time for the meeting approached. She watched as community members trickled in, each face reflecting a variety of emotions: hope, skepticism, determination. With a deep breath, she adjusted the stack of notes in her hands, mentally preparing herself for the task ahead. Remember, this is about bringing everyone together to understand the importance of what we've discovered, she said to Carla and Jonah, who stood beside her, mirrored expressions of concentration on their faces. Suddenly, a familiar figure stepped forward from the crowd, a local journalist who had previously expressed interest in their findings. Are you ready for the questions that may come your way? He asked, his eyes scanning her for confidence. Elena met his gaze, feeling the weight of responsibility settle in, but she smiled. We're ready. It's time to share the truth. As the last of the attendees settled into their seats, Elena took a moment to scan the crowd, her heart racing at the sight of so many eager faces. Thank you all for coming, she began, her voice steady but filled with anticipation. It's crucial for us to gather here today to discuss the significance of the artifact we uncovered and the veiled truth surrounding it. The audience leaned in, their expressions reflecting curiosity and a hunger for knowledge, which fueled her confidence. Elena glanced at Carla and Jonah, who stood close by, providing silent support as she prepared to unveil the work they had put so much effort into. Together, we can reveal the narratives that have long been hidden and ensure our community has a voice in shaping its own history, she continued, feeling the energy shift in the room. The air buzzed with possibility, and Elena knew they were on the brink of something significant that could change the narrative for everyone involved. Elena took a deep breath, steadying herself as she prepared to address the audience in front of her. Today, we aim to share not just the history of this artifact, but the stories that connect us all, she began, allowing her passion to resonate. As she spoke, she noticed some attendees exchanging skeptical glances, their unease palpable in the room. I realize there may be doubts about the validity of our findings, she continued, addressing the tension head-on. But we have worked tirelessly to uncover the truth, and we believe it's time to unveil it. A voice piped up from the back. What if what you're saying is just another version of history meant to manipulate us? Elena met the challenge with unwavering composure. Every interpretation deserves scrutiny, but our efforts come from a place of authenticity and respect for the past, she asserted, feeling the weight of her words. The murmurs grew quieter as Elena's determination began to shift the energy in the room, encouraging the audience to engage more openly with the conversation. With the audience still buzzing with skepticism, Elena felt the need to connect with them on a deeper level. Let me share a story, she said, her voice shifting to a more personal tone, drawing everyone's attention. She recounted the tale of how her father first inspired her to explore history, the excitement of uncovering family tales intertwined with their community's history. This artifact isn't just a relic. It symbolizes our shared experiences, our struggles, and our triumphs, she continued, her passion evident in every word. As she spoke, she could see faces softening, the initial doubt transforming into interest as they absorbed the emotional weight of her narrative. I believe it's our duty to honor those who came before us and ensure that their truths are not lost, Elena concluded, her heart racing as the gravity of her words resonated throughout the room. In that moment, she felt a powerful connection forming between her and the audience, one that transformed skepticism into a shared quest for understanding. As Elena concluded her story, she felt the atmosphere shift significantly, a wave of understanding sweeping through the audience. The crowd seemed to lean in closer, curiosity replacing the skepticism that had briefly clouded their minds. Now that we've shared this perspective, I invite all of you to join us in this journey of discovery, she declared, her voice steady and full of conviction. A woman in the first row raised her hand, her expression earnest. How can we help ensure these stories are preserved? What do you need from us? Elena smiled, recognizing the spark of engagement she had hoped for. Your stories are vital. Share them with us. Connect with your neighbors and friends. Together, we can build a movement that honors our past. In that moment, Elena saw the potential for true collaboration forming, reaffirming the power of community and shared purpose in facing the challenges that lay ahead. Elena stepped back from the podium, observing the shift within the audience, their thoughtful expressions igniting her hope. She felt a swell of excitement as attendees began to discuss amongst themselves, some exchanging ideas about how they could contribute to the cause. Jonah leaned in, a grin on his face. You did it. You turned the tide. Elena smiled, her heart racing with the realization that they had ignited a spark. Carla added, we just need to keep building on this momentum. The community is ready to engage, and they trust you. The warmth of their support reinforced Elena's determination as she saw her vision taking shape in the minds of others, inspiring her to push even harder for their shared goals. As the crowd began to break into smaller groups, she felt a sense of unity forming, knowing that together they could create lasting change and honor the stories that defined their history. Chapter 22, The Final Confrontation. Elena stood at the edge of the community center's empty parking lot, the weight of their mission hanging like a storm cloud above her. Their plans to share the artifact's history had been met with unexpected backlash, and now her heart sank at the thought of what it could mean for their efforts. "Did we take it too far?" Jonah asked quietly, glancing around as if searching for answers beyond the empty space. Elena felt a mixture of frustration and determination. "We can't back down now. We've come too far to let fear dictate our actions." She surveyed the horizon, her mind racing with the potential consequences of their decisions. "Regardless of what happens next, we need to regroup and strategize," she said, pushing aside her doubts. "We'll figure this out together." Elena paced the length of the lot, her mind churning as she considered their next move. "We need to gather feedback from our allies and see how they reacted to the presentation," she suggested, her voice steady despite the uncertainty. Jonah nodded in agreement, his brow furrowing. "If we can find out who's still with us, we can forge a plan to fortify our position." Carla joined in, her enthusiasm slightly dimmed by the recent pushback. "We should check in with the local historians and community members who supported us. Their input could help reshape our approach." Elena felt a revived sense of purpose at their willingness to adapt, knowing the importance of collaboration in turbulent times. "Let's make those calls today and get their perspectives," she asserted, already planning how to frame their next steps. With a clear strategy forming, Elena felt a surge of determination and prepared to tackle the challenges ahead with renewed vigor. Elena gathered her team once more, a sense of urgency hanging in the air as they prepared to regroup and assess their situation. "Let's look at what we learned from the reactions to our presentation and identify key concerns," she stated, laying out a fresh notepad for everyone. Jonah flipped through his notes, recalling specific comments from the audience. "Some members of the community were really on the fence. We need to address their fears head on." Carla interjected, "We should also highlight the historical context and the importance of the artifact. Maybe that'll help clarify our intentions." Elena nodded, appreciating their insights. "Absolutely. We need to ensure our message is clear and resonates with their experiences." The discussion brought a sense of clarity, each member's contributions strengthening their resolve as they actively worked to recalibrate their approach. "Together, we can turn this around," Elena concluded, her confidence rising as she looked at the faces of her allies, determined to navigate the next phase of their mission. As the team continued their discussion, Elena felt a sense of weightiness settle over them. "While it's essential to gather support, we also need to have a contingency plan in case things don't go as we hope," she said, emphasizing the importance of being prepared for any scenario. Jonah paused, his fingers tapping on the table as he thought. "What if we face pushback from the organization? They might try to discredit us publicly." Elena nodded, acknowledging the severity of his concern. "We can prepare responses to their potential attacks. If we remain transparent and stick to the facts, we can hold our ground." Carla chimed in, "And by staying united, we can demonstrate that we won't be easily intimidated." Feeling the solidarity among them, Elena realized how much their conversations had evolved. They were no longer just reacting to events, but strategically planning for them. "This is about our community's future, and we must be willing to face whatever comes our way," she concluded, their resolve strengthening in the face of uncertainty. Elena glanced at the clock, noting that time was running short as they prepared for their next steps. "Does everyone feel ready for the meeting with the community leaders?" "This is our chance to reaffirm our commitment," she said, her voice steady, seeking to bolster their collective confidence. Carla smiled, her earlier jitters now replaced with enthusiasm. "I've gathered the testimonials and stories. They're going to resonate with our audience." Jonah, adjusting his notes, nodded. "I've laid out the evidence so we can present it clearly. This will help strengthen our case." Elena felt a wave of satisfaction wash over her. They had turned their earlier fears into focused determination. "Right. Let's remember to draw on personal connections during the discussion," she added, knowing that emotional engagement could bridge gaps in understanding. With their plans in place, she felt empowered, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them, a true reflection of how much they had grown together. As the team gathered their belongings and prepared to head out, Elena felt a sense of camaraderie enveloping them. "Let's ensure we take everything we need. We can't leave any details to chance, she instructed, double-checking their materials and confirming each member had their assigned tasks. Remember, this is about more than just presenting. It's about sparking conversations that drive change, she emphasized, her determination evident. Carla adjusted her bag, glancing at Elena. I believe in us. We've prepared thoroughly, and I know we can make an impact. Jonah, standing by the door, offered a reassuring smile. Whatever happens today, we're in this together, and that's what matters. Elena felt a rush of gratitude for her friend's unwavering support, knowing that their collective efforts would fortify their mission as they left to face the community. Chapter 23, The Path Ahead. Elena stood at the center of the community gathering, the murmur of conversations buzzing around her like bees flitting from flower to flower. A palpable energy filled the room, a mix of anticipation and excitement as people settled into their chairs, eyes turning toward her. With the presentation materials in front of her, she felt the weight of the moment pressing down, a reminder of the stakes at hand. Thank you all for joining us today, she began, her voice steady, projecting confidence as she scanned the faces eager to hear what she had to say. It's our collective responsibility to uncover the truths about our past and ensure that they shape our future, she emphasized, wanting to connect deeply with her audience. As she spoke, she noticed nods of agreement and expressions of determination, reinforcing her belief that they could inspire real change together. As Elena continued, she detailed the historical significance of the artifact, illustrating how its narrative intertwined with the lives of the community. This vase holds stories of resilience and connection, reminding us of the strength found in our shared history, she declared, her voice vibrant and passionate. The audience leaned in, captivated by the warmth in her tone and the depth of her message. A hand raised from the crowd, a skeptical expression on the face of a local resident. How can we be sure these stories are real? What if they are just another version of history? Elena paused, feeling the challenge but understanding its importance. Every story deserves to be examined. Our goal is to ensure that multiple perspectives are recognized and honored, she responded, her confidence unwavering. Behind her, Jonah and Carla exchanged glances, both impressed by her ability to address doubts directly while keeping the audience engaged. Feeling the tension ripple through the room, Elena took a deep breath before addressing the audience once more. I understand your concerns, and they are valid. History is often complicated, and narratives can be manipulated, she acknowledged, her gaze sweeping over the crowd, seeking to connect with each person. To that end, we are committed to thorough research, including testimonies from those who experienced the events surrounding this artifact firsthand. A young woman in the front row leaned forward, her voice firm. What about those who oppose this? How do we protect ourselves from backlash? Elena recognized the urgency in her question, and she replied, We must foster strong alliances within our community to support each other. By doing this together, we can ensure our collective safety. The crowd responded with murmurs of agreement, their solidarity becoming increasingly evident as they contemplated the challenges ahead. Elena could feel the collective interest in the room peaking as she pushed further into her narrative. This is not just about presenting the artifact. It is about making sure its story is understood and valued by everyone here, she continued, her conviction clear in her voice. She noticed a few faces brighten with recognition, their expressions shifting from skepticism to curiosity. Each of you has your own history tied to this community. Together, we can reshape our understanding of the past, she added, drawing a powerful connection between her message and their personal experiences. As murmurs of agreement spread through the crowd, she felt the bond strengthening among them, fueled by a shared passion for uncovering truths. Elena's heart raced as she acknowledged the impact of her words. They had the power to unite and inspire action, setting the stage for the changes they envisioned. As Elena sensed the energy in the room building, she decided to open the floor for questions, eager to foster a dialogue with the audience. Now that we've shared our findings, I want to hear your thoughts. What concerns do you have? She invited, her tone encouraging and inclusive. A man from the back stood up, his brow furrowing with skepticism. How can you guarantee that revealing this information won't put us in danger? Elena took a deep breath, recognizing the validity of his concern. We understand the risks, and that's why your support is essential. Together, we can create a safety net for everyone involved. While some in the crowd nodded in agreement, she noticed a few individuals exchanging looks, their doubts still evident. By coming together and standing as a united front, we can protect ourselves while advocating for the truth, she continued, her confidence growing as she sought to inspire their trust and collaboration. Feeling the weight of the audience's gaze, Elena pressed forward, her resolve strengthening as she sensed the collective tension in the room. I want to emphasize that this effort is not solely about uncovering the truth, but also about creating a safe space to share our histories, she said, her voice rising with conviction. Most of the crowd leaned in, visibly engaged, while a few still appeared hesitant, clearly wrestling with their fears. This is an opportunity to reclaim what has been lost from our narratives, she continued, her passion igniting a spark of hope among them. Seeing a woman at the front with tears in her eyes, Elena felt a deep connection. By sharing your stories, you give power to our cause and ensure that our past is honored. We are stronger together. The atmosphere shifted as more attendees began nodding in agreement, a sense of solidarity forming, reinforcing Elena's belief in their mission and her role as a leader. Chapter 24, A Legacy of Truth. Elena stood at the front of the vibrant community center, feeling the thrill of the moment surge through her as she addressed the gathered crowd. We've come together not just to discuss the findings, but to take a stand for the truth that has been obscured for far too long. Her heart raced, knowing that the decision she was making could alter the course of their mission dramatically. I want us to be clear. The time for silence has ended. Today, we reclaim our collective voice, she declared, her conviction resonating in the air. The crowd was alive with energy, their interest piqued, as she leaned into the unity that had formed among them. With this renewed purpose, Elena recognized the transformative power of their shared experiences, and the moment crystallized into a pivotal point in their journey. Elena stepped back to allow the audience to digest her words, feeling the weight of their collective hope resting on her shoulders. As she glanced around the room, she could see a mix of determination and concern in the faces of her friends and neighbors. While we're ready to move forward, I want us to acknowledge the potential risks involved, she continued, her voice steady but tinged with gravity. A man in the front row spoke up, his brow furrowed. What if the organization retaliates? We could find ourselves in danger. Elena nodded, understanding the fears swirling among them. It's a valid concern. We must proceed carefully and consider how we can protect ourselves and our stories. The room buzzed with murmurs, and Elena felt a surge of responsibility as she prepared to lead them through the challenges ahead, determined to find a path that balanced courage with caution. Elena leaned forward, her hands resting on the podium as she gauged the audience's reactions, hoping to ease their concerns. I know there are risks, but remember the power we hold when we unite our voices, she said, her tone encouraging. A woman on the side raised her hand, looking troubled. How do we protect ourselves from their influence? They have resources we may not. Elena felt the weight of the question but recognized it as an opportunity to reinforce teamwork. We can build a network of support. Each of you can bring your contacts and experiences into this, she replied, instilling belief in collective strength. Jonah, standing near the back, added, and we can utilize technology to keep our communication strong and ensure we know what's happening in real time. Encouraged by their contributions, Elena nodded, feeling the burgeoning confidence in how united they had become, ready to face the challenges ahead together. Elena took a moment to collect her thoughts, feeling the energy of the crowd urging her forward. We need a clear plan of action, she stated, her eyes firm and focused as she surveyed the audience. Let's identify exact points where we'll need to rally support and ensure we align our narrative early, she continued, laying out her vision for how they could each contribute to the cause. A local activist raised her hand, saying, by reaching out to schools, we can engage younger voices and create lasting impact in our community. Yes, That's exactly the kind of proactive outreach we need, Elena responded enthusiastically, thrilled by the idea of tapping into the next generation. With each suggestion that flowed from the audience, Elena's confidence grew, recognizing that the strength of their mission lay in their collaboration and shared dedication. As the meeting continued, Elena felt the collective determination in the room solidifying, transforming anxiety into action. "We must ensure every voice is heard as we navigate these waters," she said, looking around the room filled with eager faces. "I can help coordinate outreach efforts to local organizations," a young woman offered, her excitement contagious. "We could partner with them to amplify our message." Elena felt a rush of gratitude and hope at the idea. Yes, collaborating will strengthen our mission and create a wider network of support. Jonah, catching her enthusiasm, added, "And we need to create a timeline for our outreach. That way, we can keep track of our progress and adapt if necessary." Elena nodded, feeling the strong undercurrent of teamwork that allowed their combined efforts to flourish. Feeling the momentum of their planning, Elena stood before the group, her heart filled with a mix of excitement and determination. By working together, we can reclaim our narrative and ensure that our history is accurately represented, she declared, looking around at the faces of her allies. The collective agreement resonated in the room, sparking a newfound energy among the participants as they began to recognize their shared power. Carla raised her hand, her expression eager. "If we create a calendar for our outreach efforts, we can assign responsibilities and keep track of who's doing what." "Yes, let's set deadlines for each task," Elena responded, buoyed by her team's contributions. "This will help us stay accountable and focused." As they dove deeper into the organizational details, Elena felt her confidence solidifying. Each suggestion woven into their strategy made her believe even more in their mission and the paths they were forging together. Chapter 25, The Ripple Effect. Elena stood at the front of the vibrant community center, feeling the thrill of the moment surge through her as she addressed the gathered crowd. "We've come together not just to discuss the findings, but to take a stand for the truth that has been obscured for far too long." Her heart raced, knowing that the decision she was making could alter the course of their mission dramatically. "I want us to be clear. The time for silence has ended. Today, we reclaim our collective voice," she declared, her conviction resonating in the air. The crowd was alive with energy, their interest piqued as she leaned into the unity that had formed among them. With this renewed purpose, Elena recognized the transformative power of their shared experiences, and the moment crystallized into a pivotal point in their journey. Elena stepped into the crowd, her heart racing as she approached a group of people animatedly, discussing the artifact and its historical implications. "Thank you all for coming today and for your support," she began, her voice carrying across the cheerful chatter that buzzed around her. The group turned toward her, curiosity lighting their faces, eager to engage with the mission they had all come to embrace. "I want to hear your thoughts and feelings about what we've uncovered. Every story shared can help us fight for the truth," she encouraged, hoping to foster a sense of community and connection. As attendees began to share their own experiences, Elena felt a wave of inspiration wash over her. Each voice added to the growing momentum of their mission. Listening intently, she took mental notes, knowing that every shared story was a thread woven into the larger tapestry they were creating together. As stories began to flow, Elena felt the collective energy of the crowd shift, a palpable connection forming among the participants. An elderly man stepped forward, his voice trembling but resolute. "I remember the discussions about that artifact when I was a child. It was a part of our community's identity." Elena nodded, encouraging him to continue, sensing the weight of his memories as the audience listened intently. "Many praised its beauty, but few understood its importance to our history," he continued, a hint of nostalgia clouding his expression. This shared history pulled at Elena's heart, reminding her why they had embarked on this journey. "I believe we can bring that understanding back to our people," she replied, her determination rising as she felt the audience rally behind the sentiments he expressed, reinforcing the mission they had all taken to heart. Elena's confidence surged as she listened to the man's story, feeling the weight of their shared history connect them in the moment. She turned to the audience, looking into their eyes, and said, "This is why we must continue to share the truth. Our past shapes who we are and guides us into the future." Encouraged by her words, a woman from the side piped up, "And if we can educate our children about this, they will carry that legacy forward." "Yes, that's the spirit," Elena replied as she felt the enthusiasm resonate among the crowd. Jonah, catching the energy in the room, added, "We should consider hosting workshops to explore these topics further. Let's empower our community to be the custodians of our history." Elena nodded vigorously, grateful for his initiative, realizing that every voice added depth to their cause and strengthened their collective commitment to the mission. Feeling the energy of the crowd rise, Elena leaned into the moment, her heart swelling with pride. "This is everything we've worked for," she said, her voice steady and passionate. "Together we can ensure these stories are not forgotten, but celebrated." The audience responded with murmurs of agreement and nods, a collective wave of support washing over her, reinforcing her resolve. "Let's make plans to expand this initiative," she proposed, her mind racing with possibilities. "We can create a series of discussions, sharing our histories and encouraging participation from everyone in our community." Carla beamed. "Yes, this is just the beginning. We can start a movement toward collective understanding." Jonah's eyes lit up with enthusiasm as he added, "By engaging more people, we can turn this conversation into real action and preserve our legacy for future generations." As the crowd began to disperse, Elena felt a profound sense of accomplishment mingled with a flicker of anxiety about the future. She caught the eye of the elderly man who had spoken earlier, and he approached her, a smile breaking across his face. "You did a wonderful job. It's refreshing to see young people take such an interest in our history," he said, his voice filled with warmth. "Thank you," Elena replied, humbled by his praise. "It's important to me that we honor those stories so they don't get lost." As she spoke, she noticed other attendees exchanging uplifting stories, supportive conversations blossoming around her, reinforcing the community bonds they had built. Elena turned to her team, Jonah and Carla, who were discussing future initiatives with visible excitement. "Together, we can really create change," she said, feeling the weight of her earlier doubts lift. "Absolutely," Jonah agreed, his earlier hesitations now transformed into enthusiasm. "This feels like a turning point for all of us." With a renewed sense of purpose, Elena realized that their collective effort had not only sparked a movement, but had also forged connections that would propel them into their next chapter. Chapter 26, The Unveiling. Elena stood in front of a large gathering at the community center, the room filled with a palpable mix of excitement and anxiety as they prepared to reveal their findings. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation, each person keenly aware of the stakes involved. She glanced at Jonah and Carla, who stood nearby, both visibly tense yet ready to support her as she took center stage. "Thank you all for coming today, and for your continued commitment to uncovering the truth," she began, her voice steady as she looked out into the crowd. The audience responded with encouraging nods and murmurs, signaling their engagement and readiness to hear what she had to say. Elena felt a rush of adrenaline. This was not just a presentation, but a pivotal moment where their collective efforts would be laid bare for all to see. As the applause faded, Elena felt a mix of anxiety and determination surge within her. "It's essential for us to share the context surrounding our findings," she continued, projecting her voice with confidence. She held up the artifact, its significance evident as she explained its historical background and the implications it had for the community. "This vase isn't just a historical piece. It encapsulates the very essence of our shared identity," she stated, her passion evident as she connected with the audience. Glancing at Jonah, she saw him nodding, his earlier fears seemingly replaced with encouragement, and the assurance fueled her resolve to lead. "I believe that by understanding our past, we empower ourselves to advocate for our present and future," she concluded, her conviction firm as she prepared to face any challenges that might arise during the discussion. As Elena continued to outline their findings, a familiar voice interrupted from the back of the room. "Isn't this just another attempt to rewrite history? How do we know you're not just pushing your own agenda? Elena turned to see the skeptical man from earlier, his arms crossed, an expression challenging. Taking a deep breath, she met his gaze head-on. We're not here to rewrite history, but to uncover the truth that has been neglected for too long. The audience shifted, whispering among themselves, caught between the confrontation and the message Elena had been sharing. History belongs to everyone, she continued, her voice resolute. We're advocating for the voices and stories that have been left out. As she spoke, she could sense the supportive energy from the crowd, bolstering her confidence and empowering her to confront the doubts directly. Elena felt the shift in the room as whispers turned into murmurs, a mixture of curiosity and skepticism running through the crowd. Perhaps you should consider how your findings may disrupt the status quo, the man continued, his tone sharper now. She sensed Jonah stiffening beside her, ready to jump in, but Elena held up a hand, wanting to take this challenge head-on. I understand your concerns, and they are valid, she replied, her voice steady, searching for a way to bridge the gap. However, disruption is often necessary for growth. If we don't confront uncomfortable truths, we risk repeating the mistakes of the past. A ripple of agreement sparked in sections of the audience, emboldening her as she pressed on. By sharing this knowledge, we invite dialogue and understanding rather than conflict, she insisted, aiming to transform skepticism into collaboration. Elena felt the tension in the room shift as her words began to resonate with more members of the audience. Consider this. Every historical narrative is shaped not just by facts, but by the stories we choose to tell. If we look beyond the surface, we can uncover deeper meanings, she stated, her passion apparent. A few nods rippled through the crowd, and she sensed a newfound willingness to engage with her message. By gaining a more nuanced understanding, we can ensure that the complexities of our history are not overlooked, she continued, her confidence growing as she connected with her audience. The man from earlier appeared thoughtful, as if contemplating her perspective. Okay, but how do we ensure no one will manipulate this narrative like before? Elena seized the opportunity to build trust. That's why it's important for all of us to participate in this dialogue, to hold each other accountable, she assured him, demonstrating her belief in collective action. The subtle shift in dynamics reflected her growth as a leader, as she felt their support beginning to solidify around her message, paving the way for the collaboration she envisioned. With the discussion unfolding, Elena sensed the atmosphere shifting from skepticism to engagement, a wave of positivity filling the space. Let's take these stories and turn them into a plan, she proposed, her voice rising with enthusiasm. The audience began to buzz with ideas, some participants eager to volunteer their own experiences to help shape the narrative they were crafting together. I can reach out to the local schools to encourage students to share their family histories, a young teacher suggested, her determination shining through. Elena beamed at the response. That's a fantastic idea. Involving the youth is crucial. They will carry this legacy forward. As the crowd continued to express support, Elena felt the warmth of unity strengthen their resolve, her initial doubts fading as she recognized the power of their collective commitment. Together, we can write a new chapter in our community's history, she concluded, filled with confidence as they prepared to embrace the challenges ahead. Chapter 27, The New Alliance. Elena stood in front of a whiteboard, her mind racing as she wrote down the key points they needed to address before taking action. The room buzzed with anticipation as her team prepared to implement their plan, nerves and excitement mingling in the air. All right, we're ready to follow through with the outreach, she said, glancing at Carla and Jonah, who were reviewing their notes. Let's make sure everyone knows our intentions and the significance of our findings, she instructed, emphasizing the need for clarity in their messaging. She could see the determination in their eyes as they geared up for the next phase, each ready to play their part in the unfolding mission. Remember, she added, a fire igniting within her, this is about more than just the artifact. It's about ensuring our community is heard and valued. As the team dove into their assignments, Elena noted the determination in their voices, each member focusing intently on their tasks. Jonah, Can you pull together the research we've gathered so far and differentiate between the supportive and skeptical feedback? She suggested, emphasizing organization. Absolutely, he replied, diving into his notes, the speed of his movements reflecting his renewed confidence. Carla chimed in. I'll contact our allies and keep them informed. I think it's crucial that they feel involved in the process. Perfect, Elena responded, feeling a wave of appreciation for her team's commitment to the mission. As they worked, the atmosphere shifted from uncertainty to a palpable energy, their shared goals reinforcing the strength of their collaboration. Elena's heart swelled with gratitude. Witnessing their growth and dedication filled her with hope for the future of their cause. As Elena continued to outline their strategy, she could sense the lingering doubts of some attendees in the room. Let's also discuss potential pushback, she urged, wanting to ensure they were prepared for any challenges ahead. One of the local historians raised her hand, concern etched on her face. What if the organization tries to discredit us? They have their own narrative, and we're just beginning to scratch the surface. Elena nodded, appreciating her perspective. That's why we must focus on transparency and involve the community. We need their narratives to bolster our claims. Jonah leaned forward, eager to contribute. And we should prepare for questions that might arise. Being transparent will reinforce our credibility. Elena felt the weight of their fears, but instead of being disheartened, she found strength in their willingness to confront uncertainty together. With a deep breath, Elena gathered her thoughts as she prepared to address the group about meeting the challenges ahead. Together, we've made significant progress, she said, her voice steady and filled with conviction. But we must remain vigilant. The organization will not accept our revelations lightly. She glanced around the room, noting the expressions of determination mingled with apprehension among her friends and allies. Let's use our combined efforts to build a support network that can help answer any reservations or objections we might face, she urged, emphasizing the importance of collaboration. Carla, inspired by Elena's words, added, "We can document everything we've discovered and be prepared to present the information to any skeptics." As the group nodded in agreement, Elena felt a swell of confidence. Their collective spirit reminded her that they were stronger together, ready to rise to whatever came next. Elena felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders as the team continued to discuss their outreach strategy. Let's ensure everyone knows how crucial it is for us to present a united front, she said, drawing the team's focus back to their core objectives. Jonah leaned forward, his brow furrowed. If we're going to challenge the organization, we must have all our information in order and clear. Carla nodded in agreement, adding, and we should practice our responses to potential questions beforehand. Elena appreciated their contributions and felt their commitment solidifying with each idea exchanged. That's the spirit. By preparing thoroughly, we can show them we're not afraid to stand for what we believe in. With the group unified around their mission, she felt a renewed sense of purpose and confidence that they could navigate the challenges ahead, ready to move forward with their plan. With their plans solidifying, Elena took a moment to look around the room at her friends and allies. Before we head out, I want to remind everyone how important our mission is, she stated, her voice filled with conviction. This isn't just about the artifact. It's about standing up for our community and ensuring that our voices are heard. The group nodded in agreement, and she could see the determination in their expressions, a quiet confidence growing among them. Let's embrace whatever challenges lie ahead, she encouraged, feeling the supportive energy reverberate in the room. As they gathered their materials, Elena felt a sense of belonging and strength, knowing they were ready to face what was to come together. Chapter 28, Reclaiming History. Elena and her team stood at the entrance of the organization's headquarters, the imposing building casting shadows over them as they prepared for the confrontation ahead. The atmosphere was thick with tension, and Elena could feel her heart pounding as adrenaline coursed through her veins. Remember what we discussed. Stay focused on our goals, she instructed, her voice firm enough to cut through the uncertainty hanging in the air. Carla glanced at her, determination etched across her face. We're ready for this. We've trained for it. Jonah, standing just behind them, tightened the straps on his backpack, the anxiety in his body language evident. Just make sure we're not caught off guard like last time, he said quietly, exposing his lingering worries. Elena met his gaze, her resolve strengthening as she reassured him. We'll be prepared. Together, we can face whatever comes our way. Elena took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts as they stood before the heavy doors, knowing that beyond them lay the potential for confrontation. We've come too far to turn back now, she said, her voice steady with resolve. Carla adjusted her pack, glancing at Elena with fierce determination. I'm right behind you. Let's show them we mean business. Jonah shifted uneasily, still wrestling with the reality of what they were about to do. Remember to stay alert. They won't hesitate to fight back, he warned, his anxiety evident in his stance. Exactly, Elena replied, her eyes scanning the surroundings. But we're prepared. We've done our homework. With a final glance at her friends, she pushed the door open, adrenaline surging as they stepped into the fold of uncertainty, ready to face whatever awaited them inside. As they stepped into the building, the stark contrast of the sterile, fluorescent lights against the aftermath of their chaotic mission was jarring. Elena's senses heightened, every sound magnified as they moved through the empty corridors, her instincts on high alert. Stay close and keep your voices down, she whispered, leading the way with cautious steps, her heart pounding in rhythm with her determination. The group soon approached a large conference room, voices muffled from within as they paused at the door, tension thickening the air around them. Ready? Elena asked, glancing back at Carla and Jonah, gauging their readiness as they shared a moment of silent assurance. With a determined nod from her friends, Elena pushed the door open, stepping forward into the fray of uncertainty, prepared to confront whatever awaited them on the other side. As the door swung open, the stark brightness of the conference room flooded their senses, revealing a group of organization leaders gathered around a polished table, discussing their next moves. Elena felt her breath catch. The tension was palpable, and she quickly assessed their surroundings for any potential escape routes. Keep your head down and follow my lead, she whispered to Carla and Jonah, her determination hardening. The leaders glanced up, surprise flitting across their faces as Elena and her team made their entrance. What are you doing here? One of the leaders demanded, his tone sharp and defensive, instantly raising the stakes. Elena replied, her voice steady. We're here to hold you accountable for your actions and ensure the truth is exposed. Elena felt the tension crackle in the air as the leaders exchanged wary glances, their surprise quickly morphing into skepticism. You believe you can just walk in here and dictate the terms? One of them scoffed, crossing his arms defiantly. Elena took a step closer, her resolve unwavering as she pressed on. This isn't just about dictating. It's about revealing the truth that you've tried to suppress for too long. The tension mounted, and she could see some of the leaders starting to flinch at her words, revealing their discomfort with the challenge. Your control over the narrative ends today, she asserted, her voice stronger as her heart raced, fueled by the weight of their shared mission. Jonah and Carla stood steadfast beside her, their presence reinforcing her determination as they faced the opposition together, ready to navigate the impending conflict. Elena's heart raced as she felt the weight of the moment settle over her, the eyes of the organization's leaders fixed on her with a mix of contempt and disbelief. You think your little presentation can threaten what we've built? The chief leader sneered, his brow furrowing as he leaned forward, a calculating glint in his eyes. Elena took a deep breath, channeling the strength she had gained from the support of her team. It's not just about your reputation. It's about the people who've suffered because of your actions, she replied, her voice unwavering. The room was tense, but Elena sensed a shift. The audience had begun to engage, some leaning in, intrigued by her courage. People have a right to know what lies beneath your facade, she continued, her confidence bolstered by the thought of the community rallying behind their cause. As she finished, a sense of resolve washed over her, knowing that their fight for the truth was just beginning, and she was ready to lead them through it. Chapter 29, Echoes of Change. Elena stood in front of the group once more, the weight of the recent confrontation still fresh in her mind. The atmosphere in the room was charged, the energy palpable as everyone absorbed the impact of their discoveries and the organization's reaction. "Today, we faced an important moment," she began, her voice steady as she addressed her friends and allies. "We made our stance clear, but we also know the challenges that lie ahead. It's crucial now that we take stock of what we've achieved and what we still need to do." Her team exchanged thoughtful glances, a mix of pride and concern reflected in their expressions as they processed their experiences. Elena felt the need to solidify their purpose, knowing they had to continue pushing forward despite the obstacles they had encountered. As they settled into their familiar meeting space, Elena began laying out their findings on the table, each document a piece of the puzzle they had spent so long trying to assemble. "Let's review what we've accomplished so far," she said, her fingers tracing the outlines of their evidence. Carla leaned in, scanning the materials. "We have the testimonies, but we still need more context to connect all the dots." Jonah nodded, flipping through his notes. "I believe there are some former members of the organization who could help clarify. We should reach out to them." Elena felt a rush of gratitude for their initiative, a reminder of how much they had grown as a team. "Absolutely. Strengthening our narrative with first-hand accounts will be essential." She glanced around the room, noting the determined expressions on her friends' faces, ready to dive deeper into their mission. "Let's make a list of our next steps and set some deadlines so we don't lose momentum," she added, reinforcing the importance of their continued collaboration and focus. As they examined their findings, the air between them thickened with anticipation and a hint of unease. Jonah pushed back his chair slightly, his brow furrowing in thought. "What if we're not ready for the response? This could bring the organization's full weight down on us." Elena turned to him, sensing the tension in his voice. "I understand your fears, but we've prepared for this. Hiding won't protect us. We need to confront this head-on." Carla chimed in. "We can't let ourselves be intimidated. We're doing this for everyone who hasn't had a voice. We have to follow through." Elena nodded, appreciating their support, feeling the camaraderie strengthen. "Exactly. We'll do this together, and we'll be ready for whatever comes our way." With their resolve renewed, they laid out their plans, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them, bolstered by the trust they had cultivated among one another. Elena took a moment to collect her thoughts as she prepared to outline their next steps. "First, we need to identify the key players in the organization and check who might be willing to provide information," she said, glancing at her notes to keep her focus. Carla looked thoughtful. "We should also create a list of their potential weaknesses. Knowing what they're vulnerable to may give us an advantage." "Yes, that's essential," Jonah agreed, his expression resolute. "If we can find a way to leverage their own tactics against them, we'll bolster our position." Elena felt a surge of confidence as their discussion evolved, their ideas materializing into a clear action plan. "Let's also prepare speaking points for when we engage with the community about these issues. We need to be clear and consistent," she added, committed to ensuring that their message was both powerful and persuasive. With everyone's input shaping the strategy, the atmosphere in the room shifted, an unspoken agreement forming as they focused on the task ahead. As their plans solidified, Elena felt an electrifying mix of anticipation and anxiety fill the room. "Let's emphasize the urgency of our mission when we speak to the community," she instructed, her voice firm. Carla nodded, her eyes sparkling with determination. "We need to remind them why this matters. If we don't act now, history could repeat itself." Jonah added, "And we must clarify our intention to unite voices rather than divide them, which is what the organization aims to do." Elena appreciated his perspective, recognizing the importance of framing their message effectively. "Exactly. Our strength lies in our unity, and we need to convey that as we move forward," she said, feeling the group's energy align with her vision. With a sense of purpose fueling their resolve, they all plunged into the preparations, ready to confront whatever challenges awaited them. With their plans taking shape and the timeline set, Elena looked around the room, feeling a sense of urgency and resolve among her team. Let's make sure everyone feels included in this process, she reminded them, her voice steady, reinforcing their commitment to unity. Carla smiled, adjusting her notes. I'll work on outreach emails to our allies, inviting them to the next meeting and emphasizing the importance of their contributions. Jonah, eager to maintain momentum, suggested, and I'll start gathering all our research materials, making sure we have everything compiled and ready to share. Elena nodded, feeling the support of their teamwork wash over her, as familiar confidence began to take root. We're going to demonstrate that lasting change comes from collaboration, she stated firmly, inspiring her friends as they prepared to face the challenges ahead. Chapter 30, A Future Unwritten. Elena gathered her team once more, the weight of their mission settling heavily on her shoulders as they prepared for the critical next steps. Today, we finalize our approach and prepare to face the consequences of our actions, she announced, a determined glint in her eye. Her team listened intently, recognizing the significance of the moment as they assembled in their familiar workspace. We've unearthed the truth. Now we must ensure it is shared effectively and responsibly, she continued, her thoughts racing through the details they'd cultivated together. Jonah shuffled through his notes, eager to contribute, while Carla set up the projector, ready to present their findings to the community once again. Elena felt a surge of determination. This was the moment where their collective efforts could lead to meaningful change, and she would not let fear hold them back. Elena leaned over the table, spreading out their findings, her pulse quickening at the sight of the documents and images they had collected. Let's outline our main points clearly. We need to ensure our message is strong and precise when we present, she directed the group, her focus razor-sharp. Carla nodded, flipping open her notebook. We should highlight the connections between the artifact and the community's history. That's critical. Jonah, flipping through their compiled research, chimed in. And we should include the testimonies we collected, show the real impact of the artifact. Elena felt the energy in the room shift as they discussed their approach, each member contributing ideas that reinforced their shared goal. I want everyone to speak from their experiences, she emphasized, appreciating how their collaborative spirit had transformed their mission into something greater. As they continued to refine their message, Elena noticed a flutter of nervousness in Jonah's posture as he prepared his notes. Do you think we're ready for their questions? I mean, what if they challenge our findings? He asked, concern creeping into his voice. Elena stepped closer, sensing his anxiety. We've prepared for this, Jonah. Remember how we practiced handling difficult questions. Stay confident in what we've uncovered. Carla chimed in, her tone supportive. We've done the research, and we have the community behind us. We can handle pushback. Jonah took a deep breath, nodding as he recalled their earlier rehearsals, the camaraderie of the group washing over him. With a renewed sense of confidence, he replied, You're right. We can do this, together. Elena felt the strength of their resolve solidify into a shared belief that they were ready to face whatever challenges came their way. Elena looked around the room, her heart pounding as she realized the significance of the moment they were about to share. We need to ensure that our presentation is not only informative, but also engaging, she emphasized, her tone inviting collaboration. Carla glanced over at the stack of testimonials they had collected. Let's include some of these personal stories right at the beginning. They'll resonate with the audience, she suggested, eager to foster connection. Elena nodded, appreciating Carla's insight. That's a great idea. Personal voices will help ground our findings in real experiences. Jonah, feeling inspired, added, If we can frame the statistics around these stories, it will make our argument more compelling. Elena smiled at their synergy, increasingly confident in their collective vision as they prepared to make their mission known to the world. As the final details of their presentation fell into place, Elena felt a swell of pride for what they were accomplishing together. Let's do one last run-through before we step out there, she suggested, gathering them closer as they shuffled their notes for the final time. Jonah took a deep breath, the tension still present but now fueled by anticipation. I'll start with the opening, then transition to the key findings, he confirmed, his voice steadier than before. Carla arranged her materials, ensuring everything was in order. And I'll handle the personal stories. Those are going to be crucial for connection. Elena nodded, feeling the camaraderie strengthen as everyone prepared to contribute to their mission. Remember, our goal is to connect with the audience and emphasize the importance of our findings, she reminded them, her conviction resonating as they all focused on their shared purpose. With one final glance at her friends, Elena felt ready to step into the spotlight, knowing they were a unified force prepared to advocate for the truth. As Elena stood backstage, she took a moment to observe the audience gathering in the auditorium, their faces a blend of expectation and curiosity. Her heart raced as she reflected on the journey that had brought them here, each setback transforming into a stepping stone toward this moment. "Let's remember what we stand for," she whispered to Carla and Jonah, who stood beside her, their nerves palpable, but their determination shining through. "Every person here wants to know the truth, and we're here to provide it," she added, feeling the weight of their mission invigorate her spirit. Carla smiled, her earlier doubts vanishing as she met Elena's gaze. "We've got this. Our message is strong." Jonah nodded, his expression shifting from anxiety to resolve as he took a deep breath, ready to face the audience and share the truth they had fought so hard to uncover. Chapter 31, The Power of Knowledge. Elena entered the community center the following day, the familiar scent of books and paper greeting her like an old friend. The atmosphere was different now. There was an undercurrent of excitement, blending with the tension that had settled over them during the past few days. As she walked through the space, she noticed people bustling about, preparing for the next community gathering, their conversations filled with anticipation. "Looks like everyone is ready to push forward," Elena remarked to Carla, who was organizing pamphlets at a nearby table. Carla looked up, her expression brightening. "It's inspiring to see so much support and energy. People really care about what we're doing." Elena smiled, feeling a swell of pride. The unity and determination of their community reinforced her belief in the fight they were waging together. Elena took a deep breath as she surveyed the preparations unfolding around her, the anticipation in the air nearly tangible. In the center of the room, a large bulletin board displayed their findings prominently, complete with photographs and testimonials from the community. "Let's make sure everything is perfectly organized before we start," she instructed, turning to Jonah and Carla as they collected the final materials. "I'll handle the audio-visual setup," Jonah replied, moving swiftly to connect the projector, his confidence growing as he became more involved in the logistics. Carla folded pamphlets and arranged them neatly on a table near the entrance, her mind racing with plans to engage everyone as they arrived. Elena felt the energy between them, an unmistakable bond formed through shared purpose, as she prepared to make their collective efforts known to the community. As they finalized the preparations, a few community members began to arrive, their expressions filled with curiosity and open support. Elena felt a wave of excitement course through her as she greeted the first attendees. "Thank you for being here. We're excited to share what we've discovered." One local historian stepped forward, admiration in his eyes. "Your efforts are commendable. We've needed voices like yours to stand up and reclaim our history." The warmth of his words bolstered her confidence and reinforced the significance of their mission. Jonah, adjusting the projector, caught her eye and gave her a thumbs up, while Carla ensured the pamphlets were easily accessible for newcomers. The bustling energy of the room began to build as more people filtered in, ready to engage in the conversation about the past that would shape their future. Elena glanced at her team, a feeling of unity solidifying. They were ready for this moment, prepared to face anything that lay ahead. As the gathering grew more populated, Elena felt a mixture of excitement and nerves. She took a moment to listen to snippets of conversation floating around her, catching words of support intermingled with whispers of doubt. "Elena, I think we should be prepared for tough questions," Jonah said, his expression serious as he approached her. "Absolutely. We need to anticipate what people might ask," she replied, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Carla joined them, "And we can practice our responses. If we show we've done our homework, it will build trust with the community. Elena nodded, grateful for her friends' insights as they gathered around to discuss potential challenges, reinforcing the bond they had nurtured throughout their journey. With the start time approaching, Elena gathered everyone's attention, a sense of urgency in the air. "Let's run through our main points one final time before we begin," she said, her voice commanding but encouraging. Jonah pulled out his notes, ready to start, while Carla exchanged encouraging smiles with Elena, both feeling the weight of the moment. "Remember, our aim is to engage the community and showcase how important this artifact is to our history," Jonah reminded everyone, visibly more confident in his role. Elena added, "And don't forget to emphasize the stories behind the facts. They will resonate with the audience and help them connect to our message." As they practiced their transitions, Elena felt invigorated by the unity and commitment in the room, knowing they were prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the audience began to fill the seats, Elena felt a surge of excitement mixed with nervous anticipation. She glanced at her friends, who were checking their materials and whispering encouraging words to one another, creating a supportive atmosphere. "All right, here we go," she said to herself, straightening her back and adjusting her notes one last time. The lights dimmed, and she stepped forward to take her place at the podium, the focused spotlight illuminating her face. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice projecting into the hushed crowd, capturing their attention. "We are here to share the importance of our artifact and the stories that connect us all." Chapter 32, The Quest for Truth. Elena stood backstage, her heart racing as she prepared to address the crowd once more. The roar of applause from the previous presentation still echoed in her ears, a reminder of the impact they had begun to make. Taking a moment to gather her thoughts, she logged the lingering apprehension in her mind, recalling the challenges that lay ahead. With a deep breath, she stepped into the spotlight, feeling the warmth of the audience's gaze as she opened her arms wide. "Thank you for your support and for believing in this journey with us," she said, her voice steady, drawing the audience's attention. "I want to address some of the challenges we've encountered and how we plan to overcome them together." As the applause settled, Elena took a moment to scan the audience, noting the expressions of enthusiasm mixed with curiosity. "We have encountered obstacles, no doubt," she continued, her voice strong, "but each challenge has only reinforced our commitment to uncovering the truth behind this artifact." She gestured to the side where images of the vase and supporting evidence were displayed, reminding everyone of the importance of their mission. "Today, I want to talk about how we can leverage the momentum we've gained. We've ignited interest, and it's critical we keep pushing forward." A few attendees nodded, clearly engaged, their support palpable in the air. Elena felt the energy of unity spark within her as she prepared to outline the next steps, confident in their ability to adapt and thrive. Elena continued, feeling the anticipation swell in the room as she prepared to address the lingering concerns. "I understand that some of you may still feel uncertain. We are navigating uncharted waters," she said, her voice calm yet resolute. A hand shot up from the audience, a supporter questioning, "How do you plan to handle the backlash from the organization?" "They won't take this lightly." Elena met his gaze squarely, her determination shining through. "We've prepared by building a network of support, both within our community and among allies who share our vision. Together, we are stronger." She felt a stir of agreement ripple through the audience, her confidence bolstered by their engagement. "By standing united, we can face whatever challenges arise and ensure that the truth prevails," she concluded, her resolve igniting the room with hope. As the discussion continued, Elena felt the weight of their mission pressing on her, but also a sense of clarity emerging. "Let's focus on actionable steps we can take right now to ensure that our message reaches everyone," she proposed, eager to steer the conversation toward tangible outcomes. Carla, her energy revitalized, added, "We should create a plan for a series of community workshops to further educate people on the importance of this artifact and our findings." The audience buzzed with enthusiasm, ideas flowing freely as people began to share their thoughts on how to engage the community effectively. Elena felt a surge of pride as she observed the collaborative spirit at play, This was the unity she had fought to foster. Absolutely. These workshops will not only disseminate information, but also empower others to share their stories, Elena replied, her excitement palpable as they built a roadmap for their next phase. With plans forming around them, Elena felt a renewed sense of purpose as she considered the next steps in their mission. Let's create a timeline for these workshops, ensuring we get the maximum impact in the community, she suggested, her fingers tracing along the paper filled with notes. Carla busily wrote down the proposed dates, her excitement bubbling as she brainstormed local venues. I can contact the community center and see if we can secure their space for the first workshop. Jonah, feeling energized, added, and I'll compile more historical context and stories we can share during the sessions to keep people engaged. Elena smiled, heartened by their willingness to contribute, recognizing how their combined efforts were transforming her vision into reality. This collaboration is key. It's about making sure our message is heard loud and clear. She reminded the group, the anticipation building for the impact they would soon have. As the meeting drew to a close, Elena felt a sense of accomplishment settle over her. Let's stay in touch throughout this process. It's vital that we support one another as we move forward, she encouraged, her voice filled with determination as she looked around at her friends and allies. Carla, now actively engaged, responded, I'll coordinate with the community leaders and make sure they're informed about the workshops. Jonah chimed in, and I'll handle the logistics on the ground, ensuring we are prepared for any potential hurdles. Elena felt gratitude wash over her as she observed the collaborative spirit growing amongst them, a testament to their journey together. Together, we can harness this energy and make a sustained impact, she said, feeling more confident than ever as they prepared for the mission ahead. Chapter 33, A New Dawn. Elena stood at the entrance of the community center, surveying the bustling space filled with eager faces, ready to engage in the journey they had started together. The atmosphere was electrifying. Attendees mingled, sharing stories and excitement about the upcoming workshops and the knowledge they would explore. With a sense of purpose, Elena moved to a nearby table covered in pamphlets and information, ready to reinforce the connections that had formed. Thank you all for your commitment, she began as she gathered a small group around her. I want to ensure that every one of you feels empowered to share your thoughts and stories during our workshops. As she spoke, she sensed an undeniable energy in the room, a collective willingness to learn and grow together. As the crowd settled into their seats, Elena felt the familiar mix of excitement and nerves wash over her. Today, we're not only going to share what we've discovered, but also explore how these histories shape our current reality, she announced, her voice steady as she stepped to the front of the room. The audience listened intently, their attention fixed on her, and she felt their engagement fueling her confidence. We have the opportunity to rewrite narratives that have long been ignored, she continued, emphasizing their collective power. Carla watched from the side, her expression filled with admiration as she saw Elena commanding the room. The buzz of anticipation in the air reminded Elena that this moment was about more than just presenting information. It was about inspiring a movement and encouraging others to join the cause. As Elena continued, she encouraged the audience to engage in an open dialogue about the significance of their mission. Who here has a story about how this artifact or our shared history has affected them personally? She asked, her voice inviting. A woman raised her hand, her eyes shimmering with emotion. My grandmother used to tell me tales about this vase. She said it was a symbol of hope in our community. Elena's heart swelled at the connection, the audience reacting with whispers of recognition and shared history. That's exactly why we're here, she replied, a sense of urgency filling her. These stories remind us of our roots and why we must protect our history. This moment of personal connection inspired others to share, sparking a lively discussion that filled the room with energy and commitment, weaving their individual narratives into the larger tapestry of their shared mission. As Elena listened to the stories being shared, she felt a deep sense of connection within the room, a realization that their individual experiences were interwoven into a larger narrative. This vase represents not just our past, but also the hopes and dreams of our community, she emphasized, her voice rising with passion. Several attendees exchanged nods, their expressions shifting from uncertainty to enthusiasm, clearly moved by the collective weight of the stories. A young man in the back spoke up. If we can preserve these stories, we can make sure they're not forgotten. It's time we stand up for our history. Elena felt the words resonate, the audience coming together in solidarity around a shared purpose. This is about more than just me or any one person, she acknowledged, fostering a sense of unity. Together, we can be the guardians of our history, ensuring it shapes the future. With the energy in the room pulsing, Elena felt a renewed sense of confidence as she turned to her team. Let's take these powerful narratives and document them. We can create a collection that honors our community's stories and ensures they are shared, she suggested, her tone filled with determination. Carla's eyes lit up. I can start compiling these testimonies into a cohesive report. It can serve as both a resource and a call to action. Jonah chimed in, and I can create visuals to accompany the stories. A presentation that highlights these connections will resonate even more. Elena nodded, impressed by their engagement and willingness to build upon their earlier discussions. This is exactly how we multiply our impact, she affirmed, realizing that their collective efforts had transformed not only their mission, but their inner dynamics as well. Feeling empowered, she knew they were on the right path to not just uncovering the truth, but also to inspiring real change within their community. As the meeting came to a close, Elena felt a palpable sense of accomplishment fill the room. Thank you all for your insights and passion, she said, her heart swelling with gratitude for the collective spirit they had fostered. The attendees began to rise, exchanging excited chatter about future workshops and opportunities to share more stories, a clear sign that the momentum was alive. Carla leaned toward Elena and whispered, I think we've really sparked something here. People want to be involved. Elena smiled widely, knowing that their efforts had begun to shape a movement, transforming their initial mission into something greater. We need to keep this energy going, she urged, already envisioning their next steps, her excitement budding at the possibilities they would explore together. With a united front, their collective journey was only beginning, each step forward, marking the way for a future rich with shared history and collaboration.